republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, welcome everybody. Oh, my thing shut off. Okay. Oh, by the way, Dana, do we have people that have professional staff here that they're paying? Okay. Okay. So Maggie, I am going, since we're going to start with public comment, I'm going to, go ahead. I'm going to give you the floor.
These announcements first before everybody
Sure.
gets all
You want to make them?
Sure, I'll make them. Okay, I'm gonna, before we do public comment, I'm just gonna make the announcements because then everybody will be here and they'll know about it. There's Medication Take Back Day, Saturday, April 27th, that's this Saturday, from 10 a.m. to 2. But know that you can always go into down to the police station, because in their lobby is a receptacle for any kind of medication that you want to get rid of and not throw into the streams or your toilet. Let's see what else. Spring cleanup weekend will be May 4th and 5th with free shredding for residents on Saturday only from 9 to 12. Our Environmental Action Committee, we've already done a lot of talking about us that tonight. I'm the liaison, so I'm very partial. Plant sale, native plant sale. This is the third year they've done it. It's at Hansel Park, and what's different this year is no pre-orders. In the years past, we had pre-orders. This year, first come, first served, and it's, Jim, it's 6 plants.
6 plants, yep.
Six small plants, all native, and check or cash, no credit cards. So Hansel Park, and it sells out pretty quick. Photo contest for our 325th year anniversary in 2025. We're planning lots of fun activities for residents. We have a photo contest that everyone's invited to participate and take pictures of our quote-unquote Buckingham, and info is on the website. And actually, I think I got a Buckingham blast about it, didn't I? Yeah. Our annual concert series will start on Thursday, June 20th, Hansel Park, 7 to 9. I don't know if any of you have attended, but it's fun and great music. Blood drive, June 25th. We'll host a blood drive at the Township building from 2 to 7. Go to redcross.com for details and to sign up. Wow, we're really going ahead here.
Yeah.
Day in the park, Thursday, June 27th from 11 a.m. to 2. I call it hot dog day. And police night out, also a great night, August 6th at Peddler's Village. Watch for details. That's also wonderful also. Just go to our website, www.buckinghampa.org, or on the Park and Rec Facebook page for updates on all this fun stuff. I think that's it.
Okay.
So, I'm going to organize public comment, and before we start, I will just say that we're one of the few townships in the county, including the school district, that you don't have to sign up to make a public comment, because we really like it to be a little more conversational. So with that in mind, if you're offering your question has been asked and answered a couple of times, think about not asking, or, unless you have something a little bit different twist on it, okay? And with that in mind, we're always up to hear from everybody, and lady in the green shirt first. You have to give your name and address.
There's a microphone.
And you should
And
probably talk to the
yes,
microphone.
and we learned our lesson. You need to walk up to the microphone.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. My name is Ann Woods Kettleberger, and I live at 5648 Quail Drive. I'm here tonight because of the spray fields, and I was here the night you did the informational session on the solar panels and the clean energy, and I thought that was so informative and good, and I know a lot of us whether we whether we're for or against the spray fields, have a lot of questions. And I was wondering if you could do the same thing one night with the spray fields, how you had the experts with the solar panels and the clean energy. You had experts and people from other counties that came, talked about their experiences, talked about how they made the field, made the field for the solar panels, and also the business side of it. It was all very interesting and informative. I'm wondering if you can do the same for the spray fields sometime.
Yes, and we actually did do it already. We had
Oh.
2 water seminars on water. The first on private wells and public water, which encompass spray fields, and we absolutely have been talking about doing it again and recording it so that we can put that on our website. Yeah. Do you have any questions about it, though?
I just figured if you were gonna do that, it would be a better time to ask questions.
Okay, good.
Thank you so much.
Yep. Lady in the brown sweater? No,
Well-
hang on.
I'm like, cream, hold up.
And I'm not colorblind.
So good evening, neighbors, friends, and supervisors. My name is Linda Flammer.
Linda, microphone, and it has to be sort of towards your mouth so people in the back can hear you.
Okay,
And probably need your address and
Yes.
address too.
how's this?
No,
How's
that's
this?
Mike's.
Yeah.
It's on.
That's
Speak
good.
into the
That's
big
good.
mic.
Okay, so my name is Linda Flammer, and my address is 5805 Mechanicsville Road. I'm just south of Street Road. So the meeting minutes from the February supervisors meeting confirmed that the tax parcel 06006051, comprising 46 acres, was condemned and taken by eminent domain, and is now going to be used as a spray field, is the proposal for the chemically treated sewage. This decision has upset many of your constituents, myself included, and there's several reasons for that. Although the treatment of wastewater is a necessity, we understand that, the proposed location for the spray field is adjacent to many family homes. 2 in particular are going to be impacted on all 3 sides of their home. The location is best situated away from people's well water supply and from their outdoor living spaces. We understand that there are a number of spray fields in Buckingham already and have been here since 1988. There has been significant science since 1988 regarding the healthfulness or lack of from spray fields. So they are not innocuous. There is significant scientific evidence that there are forever chemicals that are placed into the ground. That's what happened at the Johnsville Naval Air Station that we're all very familiar with. The government was very clear in saying that there was no problem, it was completely safe. The EPA said that, all of the township officials said that. So we're not really clear because of your lack of transparency. The development plan was not listed on the website to inform neighbors until today, this evening, as we were arriving for this meeting, there was an article that was published.
And that's not a development plan. That is to stop the spread of misinformation. Johnsville was from firefighting foam. And as
Correct.
you know, these spray fields are used for residential use. There's no industrial water going into these spray fields.
The spray
So that's
fields
where the
are used for
misinformation's coming.
agricultural, they're used
Right.
for residential and industrial.
But
Not
So
here,
in
though.
Not
this-
here.
In
Not in
this case,
Buckingham.
it's just residential.
not here, it's for
Yes.
agricultural and residential. correct.
Yes, and the PFAS, the forever chemicals, are part of what gets into the groundwater from residential use. That comes from the medications that people take, that they excrete. It comes from the products that they use that end up in the waste streams. So what we're proposing to remedy the situation, as my neighbor ahead of me proposed, we would like to have experts review the scientific data from 1988 onward, and look at the impact on human and ecological health. The experts should be vetted just by the supervisors, but also by some groups of residents. There should be a joint collaboration here. Secondly, the development plan should be transparent and include members of your community, your constituents, your voters in that plan. And so we would like to add this to the agenda for May. We all love Buckingham, and we don't want to see a black eye on this community similar to the snafu that happened at the Johnsville Naval Air Station.
They're apples and oranges. You have to stop saying that because people are going to believe it when you say that. Johnville is is by the U.S. government, so it's totally different regulations. We're regulated by the state. We're regulated heavily, so.
And there's also the new EPA guidelines
Correct.
for the levels of the PFS.
Yeah, and we deal with those every day. Gary is the
Okay.
engineer that deals with them.
Well, I want to make sure that we preserve the beauty of Buckingham.
Okay.
Jim, you're from the Conservation District. Would you,
I'm not
like
the
to-
conservation district, but I can talk.
I'm sorry, that's right.
Sure. So my name's Jim Walter. I live at 1492 Sugar Bottom Road in Furlong. Just to introduce myself to everybody, I am the co-chair of the Township Environmental Advisory Committee. I'm an engineer, and I'm also a Penn State trained master watershed steward.
Mine, yeah.
The spray fields are very, very important to ecological handling of wastewater. They are probably the best way of dealing with wastewater. When you flush a toilet, run a garbage disposal, run a dishwasher, or whatever, all that water's got to go somewhere. And it goes through a series of processes that clean up that water. It goes through filtration to take out all the stuff that gets dumped in there accidentally. Goes through an anaerobic digestion, goes through an aerobic digestion, goes through a disinfection to take out the bacteria that break down the biological materials that are in that water. Then it goes through another filtration, and then you've got two options on what you can do with the water. You can either dump it into a stream, which is what most of the townships do, or you can spray it out on a spray field. Putting it on a spray field has a lot of advantages to it, because this water is basically a dilute fertilizer solution at this point. It's got nitrogen, it's got potassium, it's got phosphorus, calcium, magnesium, a little bit of iron. It's great for growing plants. You spray it on a spray field, the plants take up these nutrients. And the microbes that are in the soil, the bacteria and the fungi there, help degrade whatever materials are left over. So these plants are doing a lot for us. Not only are they processing this waste for us, but they are also trapping nitrogen, or trapping carbon. They are carbon sinks. They help deal with climate change.
Quick question, so we didn't interrupt, but how does that intervene in how it's?
Wait.
Let's
Tim?
And my pets drink that out of their bowl because we're in the wind plume that comes across when the plants have not had a chance to digest that yet.
Okay,
Or my minor
if
children.
I could finish, I'll get to that at the end.
Okay.
So, the other advantage of the spray field is that this is basically a great big sponge. When rainfall falls on this, the rainfall is collected by that field, so it doesn't run off into our streams and our other areas, flood roads and things like that. The other big advantage of having a spray field is it's really a biological nature center. I mean, all of those insects, birds, small mammals get to live in that area and provide to the environment and the ecological recycling material. So the third and the most important reason for a spray field is that as this water is sprayed onto this field, it percolates down through the ground and it recharges our aquifer. And aquifer is incredibly important to Buckingham because everybody in this room drinks water that comes from the aquifer. If we don't recharge that aquifer and it goes dry, we got big problems. So by treating this material with spray fields, it does a very effective job of helping the environment and controlling this waste. We're actually being really good neighbors instead of dumping our waste into the streams so that the next community downstream has got to deal with it, we're taking care of it here at home. Okay? So, the water that comes out of these series of processes is near drinking water.
Absolutely not, it is not.
Yes,
But-
it is.
Hold on a second.
Excuse me.
Could you, wait, Jim, Jim, wait. Could we have his name?
Sir,
Yeah,
sir, please, can we just respect each other? Just, if you're asking a question, just let him finish the question.
All right, but okay, let him go. Here.
Yeah, give your name to Lori, to MJ. Your name and address.
After this water has gone through anaerobic digestion, aerobic digestion, disinfection, and then filtration, you degraded essentially all the biological materials in there down to its base roots. So what you've got is nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus, some very small molecules. People dump this into our streams. Okay? Yes, they do.
It's the only other way.
Okay, Jim,
Wait, Jim.
Jim,
Sir, if you want to keep talking, give your name to Mary Jane and your address.
My name is Mr. E. I have 4 young children, and I am
Okay.
not disclosing that information to you.
Okay, well,
You're not, just your name?
thank you.
Okay, got it.
thanks, Jim.
By the government or township at all.
What's that?
What's an inquisition? Are you kidding me?
That's a fair question.
No, he's
No,
a
he's a
resident
volunteer.
just like you that pays taxes in Buckingham. Lady in the orange sweater?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name's Vera Shelton. I live at 3240 Street Road in Buckingham. I'm like maybe a stone's throw away from the spray field. I'm sure there's a lot of people here tonight that feel that the board, you guys, have not been transparent with us. Do you feel that you've been transparent with us, Maggie? Because right before I left the house tonight, I got that email to squelch all the rumors that were going around. Why am I just hearing about this spray field?
Why did you just get the,
Not even the email that you guys sent out while you were
yeah,
already here.
no,
while we were
it got
driving.
posted tonight, cause
Yeah,
we've
yeah.
been working on
Because we
it.
just got
I'm
the property.
asking, why are
We
we
just
just
bought the
finding
property.
out?
We
about
just
spray
got,
field?
yeah, we just got the nasty letter last
I'm not
week.
asking about
No,
that,
yeah,
sir.
hold on,
I'm
hold on.
asking from you
Wait,
guys
yeah.
why we did not previously, before your nastygram letter that
It's
you're talking about,
yeah, your
hear
question.
about a spray field. I think that's why
Because we
we're all
just
standing
acquired the
here
land.
frustrated and angry and
It
emotional
was the
about it.
last meeting.
So I think it's
Go ahead,
the
let
last
Dana.
meeting I read
Wait a
the
minute,
minutes, there
stop.
were 3 lines. You guys all voted on resolution 2622, whatever. There was 5 of you here. There should have been 8 of you, correct?
No,
No?
there's
It was
3 of us.
whatever the- yeah.
That's it.
5 people voted, right? It was
No.
unanimous.
No,
Two?
No,
2.
Paul and I were at the
5?
meeting. John wasn't
No,
here.
I was in Spain.
We have 3
I was in
supervisors.
Spain. There's 3.
Okay, wait,
So
let
I'm
me
just
ask.
saying, like, you have to take a little bit of grain of salt tonight because we're
Okay.
all a little hot and frustrated.
Mhm.
I am one of those property owners that will be affected by the price of the value of my home. So I would like just an explanation of why we're all just finding out about this.
Well, I guess go ahead, you.
I think the one thing is that Buckingham Township, as you read in your thing, because has been doing spray fields, has been doing spray field irrigation since 1988. We've been developing that. We did put up our, the map showing the spray fields. We have 450 acres in spray fields. We've been doing this. It's been coming in with each development. We've been increasing them. We've been doing that. And it's been part of our process, and it's been things that are just talked about at meetings. We've had
Going for years.
education,
I
we've
read
had
the
best
last
management
six months.
tours, we've had all different things.
So I've read the
So-
last 6 months and nowhere in there do you guys talk about acquiring another spray field in Buckingham.
We just approved the McKee subdivision, which has spray fields in it, and that was
Yeah.
a large part of the discussion.
So a lot of times they're coming in as developments, and it is part of, regular discussions for any developments and everything in that. This particular spray field came up. This spray field's actually adjacent to an existing spray field. The Stony Mead Community Spray Field. So it's not, this isn't something that's hidden or anything like that, but I started getting some emails showing some posts. So having some misinformation, having some things saying, we're putting sludge out, we're doing things
Toxic
that
waste.
we've never done. I had employees get approached at church being told that they heard we're putting a toxic waste facility and everything like that. So when I started hearing those things, we all said, with the engineer and our staff, we got to get something out. In 25 years, I've never had anyone ever, make these claims that a spray field of treated wastewater isn't the best treatment for wastewater. I mean, we are normally highlighted for what we do in protecting the environment. So yes, we were trying to get that out. And you know what? We couldn't get it out because we've been working 2 days to try to respond to all the rumors. So I'm glad you're all here, and I think, we already did the things with EAC and with our engineers on the water, and we mentioned the spray fields in some of our water things, and I think having a discussion on spray fields would be great and a learning thing. But this is something that we have done throughout the township for many, many years, and all sorts of spray fields have been discussed as they've come in developments. And this is just a new spray field, and of course, you live near it, and you have questions, and that's great, and we should answer them and have the discussion. But there's nothing hidden, and there's nothing this is just something that we're doing.
I'm just saying, I'm sure a majority of people in here feel like they were like sideswiped. And that's why.
Yeah, and they may feel that way,
And I
but they
think
were
it's
not.
because we were just responding to things that we had never even seen before. Like the couple emails that we've gotten that we were like, oh my gosh, we have to correct this information because people think there's toxic waste being out there, or they think that we're spreading biosolids.
We talk
or
about
that's why we got that out.
Transparent with the community prior to it being put out there that we're installing.
It started out in October as preserving that property. That's how it started out. It was a developer's property. He purchased it from Georgie Coles.
Oh, I know, we all read that.
Okay, you know all that. So what happened was he came in, wanted to see how many lots you could put on. We saw if we could preserve it. We went back and forth. We did appraisals on it. He kept changing the numbers around. And in the end, he got more than what he advertised the property for. And so we're not going to have 8 more houses over there. We're not going to have to find more additional spray fields for more houses. Now we have a spray field that we have a reserve spray fields. When other spray fields have to be taken offline, we have property for one.
And the other thing to know is there's no plan. Like there's no plan yet.
There's no plan.
Like
So, well, that's not apparent to all of us, so.
no.
That's
I
fine.
mean,
It's 5 to 8, and you guys started public comment at 7:36, so I wanna give somebody else a chance, so I'd like to sit down.
Yeah, but in answer to your question, we've been doing this for, 20 years that I've been here. And, a development comes in or we need more spray fields, it's never been an issue.
It's been praised.
And
It's not only not been an issue.
anyway,
So,
the guy,
It's not even an election year.
wait, I want to say
You're
something.
still making
Just to preface my neighbors who live by the spray field, I have 4 kids. One of them has a compromised immune system because she's got disabilities. And we've lived right next to a spray field. I've been over 25 years. All my kids were born and raised right by a spray field. No issue. And I'm not scared of it because I know the
Most
information.
neighborhoods are.
okay, the lady in the green sweater, you? Yeah, please.
I'm Carol Schramm, I'm at 553,
Yeah.
Carol Schramm, I'm
Yeah.
at 5530 Harversville Road. My husband and I chose to move here. I've moved 14 times. We chose to move here and retire. It's beautiful here. It's historic. I don't understand meta-wise why you would choose land that is near one of the most historic homes in Buckingham to put this kind of eyesore. Like Indian Spring Farm, 1691. Why would you put that there? When I see other land around here, if you're eminent domaining it, taking control of it, is that what you want for Bucks County?
Is Indian Spring Farm the
The
Stony
one
Mead?
with the apartments, I don't know.
No, it's up on,
It's right across the street.
From,
So
And
I
Sol-
don't
and Solberry?
understand from such a beautiful county that you don't consider how you affect these historic properties. I bought a historic property. I don't let anybody put chemicals on my land, nothing. So I just don't understand the placement.
There,
Like
there,
it would
there,
remain
there
on the
won't be
land.
chemicals being put on the
No,
land.
no, I'm saying
I'm saying,
I'm
and,
organic on my
and,
farm.
and we agree with you.
I'm not saying they're chemicals, I'm just
Okay.
saying as far as the placement goes, why that place?
there's not a lot of
When
places.
there aren't, there
there's
are
not a lot
other
of places
places,
for
if you're taking control of somebody's land, like just eminent domain and
No.
going, yeah.
No, we
No, wait.
paid,
No,
we
Wait,
not
wait a
paid,
minute.
we paid more than asking
We,
price
we
for it.
took a parcel and paid for it because it was for sale.
And it was gonna be
We
homes.
did not just say, oh, we want that piece of land
Correct.
and screw the owner. You know, that was listed on the market and that's
And he
was
got
the
more
one
than what he
thing
was
for
listing
it.
for.
And,
So-
and there, you have spray fields at the other end of Cartersville Road, Cartersville
I
and
know, which
413.
is why I
Yeah.
think how sad it is at that intersection with that beautiful stone house there, the beautiful stone house there, there
But-
is
but
But as
how-
opposed to
I
have
don't
homes,
get it.
as opposed
have-
to homes?
Have you ever
I
seen,
would, what about if you're off of 202, there's land, there's the land that couldn't get sold with the mini horses, I mean,
It has
there's
to
land
perk.
around.
It has
No,
to
no,
perk.
Okay.
It's also has to be net, first of all, being adjacent to the Stony Mead system and being in the Cold Spring area. That spray field needs to be in that northern area. You can't do a spray field down here and
pump it up there?
pump it all the way up to there. And, I mean, we have spray fields all in that area. Small ones, I mean, you have the larger one, Lujeski, right across from Cold Spring Elementary that everyone sees with that.
Which
And
is farmed up
and
next.
we have Durstein, Stony, I mean, there are quite a few spray fields in that area. And for the most part, yeah, you see some spraying and everything, but you see open land. And it's, being farmed in hay. So,
Or sunflowers.
Didn't we have a stormwater issue
But
too,
Well,
2 weeks ago? Can you
the
explain
other
that?
thing-
200,000
Yeah.
gallons.
But I live near it.
We
200,000
take
gallons.
we
Get
take
rid
your
of it.
point.
Anyway.
And the other, and thank you, and the other option for that property, 45.8 acres, it could be 5 to 7 McMansions on there. So that, and I'm not
And
being
more spray.
snarky, I'm just saying that that's another
And more
alternative.
spray.
So are, anything else, because there's a lady here.
but understand that even if you have homes, you then still have to do something with the wastewater. So if you don't do, if you say we don't like spray fields, we don't want spray fields, you're then talking about a treatment plant. You're talking about stream discharge. You're talking about you have to get rid of the wastewater somehow, and this is the most environmentally sound and ability to keep that land open instead of putting a packaged treatment plant.
This lady is waiting
Who's
to
next?
speak.
These are,
Can you give your name, please, and address?
Yes, good.
My name is Donna Trabosita Fulvio. I live at 3069 Ursula's Way. We also just heard about the spray field, and I just had a couple of questions and a couple of thoughts I wanted to mention. When we first moved to Buckingham Township in 2008, we knew that the house had a private well and septic field, and we didn't have access to public water. I did call the township at the time and spoke to Graham Orton, who was the water director then. He was incredibly nice, as everybody has been when I call. Just to ask, because we were nervous, we had never lived in a place with a private well, and we knew that that was our only source of water, and we wanted to educate ourselves before buying the house, having the water tested. We asked him if there was ever an opportunity in the future that there would be public water coming to our neighborhood, and he said no. He said the cost would be prohibitive, all the mileage to do any kind of a plumbing, and he said, so it's really your well is your source of water. So we understood that, and we knew that we were responsible for that in our septic. Because of that, we've been very proactive with, having our water tested, maintaining our septic, our well, and everything like that. We are careful about what we do put on the ground. I am well aware that it is much more beneficial to have open land. then, and I wasn't sure, looking at the zoning map, I think, is it A2 or A1? Like, is it, it's not commercial.
AG2.
AG.
It's AG2,
So it's not,
agricultural
there's
too.
no commercial zoning there, it would have to be residential or agriculture?
Are you talking about the spray field that was just purchased? Yes, that's ag.
Okay, that's what I thought.
That's the zoning.
So concerns that we have are, you know, the wells that you were talking about, the test wells that you were talking about having there, like how deep would they be drilled? In other words, we're wondering, and this may be more esoteric, but comparing to our wells, like to get an idea on, you know, what might show up. We know that
Monitoring wells.
There's
Do you
3
want
farms
to-
That's a
already,
Gary.
you know, on that area, and they're not required to disclose what they spray or apply, which we know also legally. So we're careful about testing, but we understandably, I think, as a neighborhood, have concerns, because we don't know what to look for. Like when I even asked, you know, Penn State and the water testing labs, like, well, if we're looking for pesticides, fertilizers, things like that, they said there's too many to test for, and each test is very expensive, so it's hard to tell you as a homeowner what to really test for in your water. I think that's really a lot of concerns that, you know, some people have tonight, because we feel very vulnerable. We only have a well, we'll never have, you know, access to public water. We have to maintain our septics, which are also very expensive. If we have to start getting involved with purchasing reverse osmosis systems, or different types of filters, they cost a lot more money, and we're also pumping a lot more water into our septic just to purify our drinking water. I think that these are genuine concerns people have, and when I looked on the website, like walking, and I am somewhat familiar with the water department information, there's not a lot of easy access to information for consumers to read through and really educate themselves on that. So like when I try to find out this information, I don't see it anywhere, and I think that really leads to a lot of suspicion and concern.
But
Yes.
there's a whole
Yeah.
article about spray fields that's been on there since the
But
80s.
it's not
Yeah, there's
easy
a
to
thing,
find.
but we have been actually working to add more. We're in the process of,
And that's
you
great.
know, to
Yeah.
adding more
Gary,
articles
why-
too. But Gary can answer your question, I think, on the monitoring wells if you'd like.
Well,
I don't want to take too much time,
Well,
but
hey,
part of the issue, I think, is, you know, where we live, we don't have public water or public sewers. So spray fields were probably never a concern for anyone, because right now we're getting the sewer water from other neighborhoods now in our neighborhood.
what do you
So,
mean?
in other words, the public water, where that's coming from somewhere else in Buckingham, it's not coming from our neighborhoods.
Do you have public, you have
No,
public?
we don't have
No,
public
she's
water, we don't have the
septic.
sewers.
It's
The
coming,
septic.
you're right,
We
you're
have
right. It's coming from Buckingham, though. We're responsible for all of Buckingham.
Oh, no, we understand.
Gary's the
But
water and
also
sewer
remember
engineer, so
just-
he can talk to you about the isolation of your wells and the
Oh,
testing.
Monitoring
that
wells
I
and everything
totally
like that.
understand. I'm just saying that for our neighborhood, this is brand new, because we haven't had this in our
Right.
neighborhood
Mhm.
before. And I think it's understandable that we have concerns. And I just wanted to mention briefly, I think residents would like, and, you know, everybody feels differently, but they'd like to have more information about the testing, if there's concerns about airborne viruses, you know, from spraying. Will any treatment of farm animals or industrial wastewater be in there? Although I think you answered some of that
yeah.
before.
No.
It's residential water.
Okay. And then, you know, are fields going to be allowed to dry regularly to prevent anaerobic, you know, conditions from developing? Like,
Gary can
Okay,
answer
Can
all
you
these
answer
questions.
just a couple of
Yeah.
quick questions for
So-
you, at
I'll
least,
answer.
to get that?
The monitoring wells that we surround the.
Gary,
Yeah,
Gary,
get-
stand up.
stand up.
Okay. And this is our water and wastewater engineer.
He was here early. Yeah.
Quick question on the monitoring wells. We surround the spray fields with monitoring wells. They only penetrate down to the top of the groundwater, so they might go down 40 feet. All we want to do is sample the top of the groundwater. Our actual discharge criteria is meeting drinking water standards at the groundwater.
And that is current EPA?
That's
drinking
current
water?
EPA. We sample each of those monitoring wells. We do not a comprehensive one every quarter. At the end of the year, we do a comprehensive, basically just as what we do when we permit a new well. So we go through all the constituents of whatever. The township has a hydrogeologist who reviews all that information, and we're required by the state every year to submit a hydrogeological plan for that. And every 5 years, we submit a complete hydrogeological plan with everything in it. We monitor for the mounding, which is the amount of water that comes up. So we wanna make sure that we have our 4 feet of filtration, basically, which is the ground itself.
Okay.
Your other question was?
The information from the testing, is that available on the website for each spray field? For residents to see what the water analysis has
I
been
don't
like?
think
We don't post all of that information. We can certainly, if people have,
It's never been.
questions and that it is available.
It's
Never been
around
questioned.
probably about 10 or 15 pages worth of sampling that we do for
Okay.
the comprehensive one. The quarterly ones is probably about 2 or 3 pages, you know.
Would township residents have access to seeing those reports?
They could certainly have that. We have some specific locations of things that we do not give out. We could work something out to make sure you're at a comfort level, but while also making sure that our systems are staying safe. You know, it's not good, and EPA wouldn't even allow us to start giving out like the exact location of our monitoring well or that kind of thing. But a general
Oh, no, I
thing you
just
could
meant, like,
certainly do.
Yeah, 'cause someone would,
Of course.
someone would
Now
contaminate.
know too that this field, because it was just purchased, like we haven't done, it is purchased for a spray
Sure,
field, but
nothing's
the
been done.
design hasn't been done, anything. All of that, even the design, once it gets started, all gets permitted through the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection, like all of that. It's a process, so
What's your
there's
estimate
nothing
of
in that.
timing of that, like before it would be operational?
Normally takes us to permit a spray field like this about 1.5 years.
Okay.
At
So
least, yeah.
we're going through, first we're going to go out and do soil sampling, just take a look at all the soil sampling, see what the perks are. Right now, it's considered well-drained soils, but we need to get an infiltration rate going through it. We only spray about 2.5 inches if it's well-drained soil a week. We're trying to put down about 1/2 inch per day. You know, and it comes out to, we might be spraying in the summertime about 8 hours, in the spring and fall less. What we're trying to do is make sure that we're not applying too much on there, so too much nitrogen goes in.
Okay.
We've looked at, and when you're talking about the drying cycles, we work with Larry Hepner, who was the Dean of Agriculture over at Del Val. He is
Soil
our
scientist.
soil, what do we call him?
He's
Our-
agronomist.
our-
Agronomist.
He's a township agronomist.
Yes.
He goes out every year, does soil sampling, and we've actually worked out a program, because we were concerned about that, and we are on the forefront of soil irrigation. And we went through with DEP and said, look, we're looking at how the soil dries, you know, we're looking at how we can irrigate, we're looking at making sure that we don't have those kind of conditions. So we worked out a program with DEP about that, and that's how we now do our spraying. We follow that program that we worked up with DEP on that. And like I said, Larry comes out just to check the soils and that kind of stuff. And he also writes, every year we do a crop management plan. So he's looking at how much nitrogen we're pulling off with our crops, how much we're actually applying, just to make sure that we have that balance there, so we're not putting too much stuff down. So what we're trying to do is get away from, and that farm probably had, you know, fertilizers put on it.
Sure,
We
it
do
was a
not-
tree farm.
We do not put fertilizer on anything.
Okay.
In fact, what we started with the Lejeski one, which is on 413 and
Carversville.
Carversville
Carversville.
and Cold Spring, where it intersects there, that's one of our main spray fields there. When we first got the spray fields, it was farmed as a truck farm. The monitoring wells had nitrogen up to 27 milligrams per liter, way above drinking water level. So all the wells around that thing, just from the farming, had high nitrogen. We've actually brought those nitrogen levels down below, I think our highest one is like 7. Our nitrates and nitrites are all below drinking water levels when we spray. So what we try to do is we're trying to clean up the groundwater too. And that's a lot of this is why we're spraying. We're trying to make sure that the water is stayed in Buckingham Township, not that we're exporting it out.
Sure.
of Buckingham, so everyone has, you know, adequate water. And there has been down in Oxford, the borough of Oxford, their public water wells were in their spray fields. So they were pulling water from their spray fields. You know, all of our public water is away from our spray fields, and most of the wells in the areas that we are away from our spray fields. You know, we have a separation district that the state requires adjust the spray field so we're not impacting your wells. So we're trying to stay away from trying to do some of that pollution.
And Gary, correct me if I'm wrong, and ma'am, I just want to address, you're saying, which I totally get, that's why I want to address it, stuff from some other areas in Buckingham coming in. Is it true that when water goes into the ground from a spray field, it's actually better than a septic system going into the ground?
And when you look at the septic system, you know,
Or sand mound.
sand mound, you're about 60% of the solids stay in your septic tank.
Sure,
And the rest go to your sand mound, which then go down into the groundwater.
right.
And I would wonder, and we had that discussion when we had the well water one, is how many people actually sample their wells to see what their well's nitrogen level is right now, compared to what their sand mound's actually doing, or their tile fields. You know, just to see exactly what their water is that they're drinking right now. You know,
We had our water company was out today just to do like some repair work on machinery and testing. It just was fortuitous that it was
Okay.
today, and we were asking questions. So I think for me as a homeowner, my husband and I, just having more information available to see, that we can see what you're testing for, you know, in terms of, well, like, what is screened out of the water before it gets to the spray field, just things like that, you know, because we're vulnerable having only our wells.
DEP makes us every month, we do sampling of all of our effluents before it goes out.
Sure.
And we have standards that we have to meet there.
Right,
You know, so we meet, and I'm not going to say exceed, but we meet or are better than
Right.
our actual discharge permits. I think in the probably 20, 30 years that we've done it, we've only had an exceeds maybe once or twice. And a lot of that is because some of the lagoon technology that we use, which is a completely natural process. I mean, we add no chemicals into the lagoons at all. We have a detention time through our lagoons of 120 to 210 days. 120 is when we're at low water level, 210 is when we're at high water level. A typical treatment plant, 18 hours, it's in and out. You know, so we have that nice buffer that we can take the surges and the different type of things coming into the lagoons that some people, if you have a high BOD coming in, you know, the treatment plants really can't handle that. While a lagoon has at detention time, can handle that. You know, we're looking at our mass balance, we're looking at, I'll just look at Frome, for example, we have probably over 40 million gallons sitting out there that we let the water flow through. So it's a natural process. We have aerators on top of it just to provide aeration into the lagoons to aid in biological. You know, so what we're trying to do is a most natural and the most beneficial thing that we have. And Buckingham has been praised for what we do. I mean,
I'm not debating that. I'm saying that for our neighborhood, this is the first time we're hearing about it because we've never had any public water or public sewer.
Right.
So
Okay.
that's for many people a shock, but I want to thank you for your time and for
Okay.
answering
Thank you, ma'am.
questions.
Yeah, good.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Gentlemen, right there with your, yeah.
Good evening, everyone. My name is David Goldhaber. I live at 548 Indian Ridge Road. I lived in Newtown first for about 7 years. I'm here 4.5 years. I don't get any road work done on Indian Ridge Road because it's a private road for 5 houses. But Indian Spring Road is horrendous. I've spoken to Richie, who's your zoning supervisor, whatever his title is.
Could you speak up in the?
Yeah, Rich Myers.
Rich, okay.
Yeah.
And he said to me, I asked him about the roads, and it's horrendous. I mean, potholes, the edges, everything's just falling apart. And for 2 years, we look at our orange cones on the corner of Mechanicsville and Indian Ridge because the pipe there that takes the water, when it rains, constantly collapses. And he said that whoever takes care of the roads here, whoever's in charge in Buckingham, goes around, looks around, and takes care of things on an as-needed basis. Every so often, I see a couple of you guys in the truck, they take 2 shovels full of hot asphalt and throw it in these holes. But you go from on Indian Springs Road, from Mechanicsville to Long Lane, it's horrendous. There are a lot of houses there, we all pay high taxes, and it's a miserable road.
Okay,
Can I interrupt you?
Let Dana.
So, only to tell you that we had a road improvement bid tonight that's getting approved, and one of the alternates is to pave Indian Spring Road. So I just wanted to let you know that
And you made my night.
it is. That's why I figured I just wanted to do that. I have to make someone happy tonight.
But just to answer.
Now I will tell you, we have it as an alternate, and
No.
this is why, because there are some people on Bittersweet Lane that are trying to connect to Stony Mead, and they would have to cross Indian Spring. So we're we're working with them on timing. So we have it in an alternate. If for some reason they're gonna go later, we may put it off till next year. So I'm not as popular now. Just because we don't want them to, we don't want the road to get ripped off afterwards. But we do have it in our bid as one of the options.
Soon it'll be within a year.
Correct. It's on the list.
So the roads are we have about 130 miles worth of
Township
roads. Okay, so we do roads usually between 8 and 10 years. That's the whole schedule.
Or as needed.
And like Dana was saying, there's some people there that have septic problems. They're trying to tie in to the western.
The Stony Mead.
Stony Mead.
And so it's been going on for 2 or 3 years now. And one of these days, they're going to be allowed to tie in, and then they're going to have to put a pipe across the road. That's why it's listed.
Right. So we have it as an alternate.
So you made my night. Last,
Good.
just quick, 1-minute question. On the property that you just got from McCardle, what happens to the 14 acres that were part of that parcel before, when he had it up for sale, and he sold it, and then it fell through? Then he listed it as 46 acres, so there's 14 additional acres.
Yeah.
What's going on with that?
The 14 acres are a separate parcel.
And
Okay.
isn't it
And
preserved?
the 14 acres is a preserved parcel that was done with an original development. So by this 45.8 acres being purchased, Mr. McCardle was trying to move some of this land over to that so he could build houses over there. Because this is all purchased, that land stays preserved, he won't be able to build a house over there.
It's the open space for,
Indian Creek, Indian Walk.
Indian
Walk.
The little cul-de-sac.
Yeah, I know.
It's the open space
Thank
for
you.
that.
And sir-
Made my night. You gave me 2 good answers.
So can I just say one thing? And this
We're
is
just
for,
letting
this
you
is
know.
for anybody. If there's a something on the road that you feel is a little bit more dangerous because it just happened or we don't know about it, please call us to let us know.
Well, you have
He
it.
As we
Yeah,
did.
yeah,
And
but
it's
no, but
on
I'm
the
just-
Those two
I'm saying
cones,
anybody.
They need to be landmarked
Yeah.
by now, it's 2 years, those cones are there.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
yeah,
Thank
thank you. Late young, the
Oh,
woman.
we still
They're
have the
waiting
bone
her turn.
person's been waiting.
Oh, who?
And you
Oh.
know what,
Sweater.
I'm trying to pull that microphone down. I know, I'm short
She's
myself.
still there. I can see you this way.
Name and
Yeah.
address.
Good evening. I want to thank you for
Right,
your patience.
name and address.
I'm getting there.
Okay.
I want to thank you for your patience and energy this evening. As myself and my fellow community members voice their concerns and ask their questions with regard to the spray irrigation field. My name is Sarah Cohen. I live on South Deer Run Road, approximately a half a mile from the acquired land proposed for treatment spray irrigation. My family and I, my husband and my 3-year-old, just moved here 2 years ago from New York City. That was very deliberate. We moved here to be in close proximity to our family and friends, but also wanted to give our daughter a healthier living environment in comparison to New York City, with more room and outdoor space to enjoy. And so far, it really has been our little safe haven. When I got the notification of this proposed plan via email, I immediately started informing myself, doing research that I found on .gov sites like NIH, and also familiarizing myself with EPA regulations, DEP regulations, both on a state and federal level. And my findings were alarming. We have not been shown a comprehensive perspective of the pros and cons of this proposal. We are told this preserves agricultural land, fresh water, aquifers, brings rich nourishment and fertilization to the plants, that it's closely monitored, and our favorite thing, prevents further larger developments being built in the area. It all looks like a win-win from this angle. This is inaccurate, and there is supporting evidence to show that this practice is unsustainable, harmful to the environment, to its residents, to their quality of life, their health, and devalues the value of their homes, while also adding fiscal burdens to remediate personal things, with well water testing, HVAC filtration, and other costs. The NIH case study that I found, there was a case study on the NIH.gov site of all people that basically did an interview of people within a 1 mile radius of an active spray field. They were interviewed for up to 45 minutes to 2 hours, and all reported acute and chronic health issues. Headache, dizziness, cough, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, skin rashes, respiratory issues, difficulty breathing, the list goes on. With regard to odor, most said it was foul, with one person saying, doesn't bother me too much. Let's see here. The other ramifications were people altering and living their lives around this, basically saying kids can't go out today, for obvious reasons, staying inside to minimize aggravating any of their systems that any of their symptoms that they started experiencing. And that's why I emphasized that I was a half a mile away from the proposed spray.
Yeah, but
I-
that's not our
So I'm
spray
not
fields,
finished. I'm
so.
almost done. I've got just a few.
That's okay.
Little
I thought you were
bit more.
finished.
So there's also inadequate testing. It's not comprehensive. According to the DEP officials, there are laws that prevent them from monitoring air contaminants and air pollution on agricultural lands. So this is very scary and points to an obvious vulnerability to people surrounding that area at minimum.
This is not a
1
private
mile-
farm.
Just have a-
1
just-
mile radius at minimum.
It's not a private farm.
Some are under the misconception water is completely safe. This is wildly inaccurate. There is certainly a reduction, but there are still harmful contaminants, and airborne pathogens that pose serious risks. The practice of wastewater irrigation also is not sustainable, and that research shows repeatedly that soil becomes basically imbalanced. There's all sorts of things called like soil salinity that basically impacts the soil's ability and the plant's ability to appropriately filter that water, which is what we're told is the benefit of water conservation. So the NCB, which is the National Center Biotech Information, calls this a serious environmental issue. This requires other steps to come in to remediate that issue, which is called soil amendments, where basically tons of harmful contaminants are applied to the soil. And many of those are travel through air. And that's obviously very problematic, because the DPE doesn't have any laws that require monitoring on the air, that makes everybody vulnerable. So that's kind of my, my real cause for concern there. Let's see, I'm almost done here. So there really is so much that can be said. I have further studies that I have, but obviously time is limited. So ultimately, okay, so there's a lot to be said as to why this is hazardous. This can impact our environment, our physical, mental, and emotional health. Not to, again, mention the devaluation of our homes being close proximity to an active spray field, and again, the additional cost for our own filtration systems. Due to the sort of nature of this meeting, I and others have already began facilitating the process to order a right to know with a local legal firm. And we are eager to learn more of the project scope, the due diligence, the monitoring, etc.
Good.
Thank you for your time.
You're going through your
Thank you.
process. And did you hear anything that
Did
Gary
Gary say?
has?
Can I ask one question? Where was that study done?
Yeah, I'd like to see a copy of that.
No,
Which one?
the study you talked about, the salinity.
It was on the East Coast, in North Carolina.
So when you look at salinity, and we have.
Jared, can you stand up so they can hear you? Thanks.
Could you have a copy you could provide? Because I can't, I
Yeah.
just looked up
Me too, I was-
NIH, I can't find it anywhere on there.
You can't find what?
This study
The
about
study.
spray fields.
Oh, yeah, I'm happy to provide any,
Okay.
I have all.
Perfect.
A copy of that
sites.
study would
Good.
be wonderful.
So when you look at salinity in the water, basically, and it does cause a problem. And there's certain areas in the United States that have a higher salinity in your drinking water. And what happens is that salinity does start to break down the soil structure. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. They have problems out in the West Coast with that.
Yes.
They have problems in some places down south. We look at our salinity in our water here, we don't have that problem. We have had, again, Larry Hepner go out and look at our soils after they've been there for 20, 25 years, and we're not seeing any kind of breakdown of our soil structure right now. You know, so we don't have the salinity that those other places do. And I agree with you, there is a concern with it. If you have high salinity in drinking water, there's a problem then with your soil. And it would be also on, if you're using your water, sprinkling your lawn, you're gonna have that same problem. Because basically it's the salinity in your drinking water that affects the salinity in your wastewater. So when you're talking about that, I'll agree with you on that. It will destroy the soil structure, but we have not seen any evidence of that in Buckingham Township yet. And we've been operating for over 30 years.
So are you implementing any kind of soil amendments?
No, we're not.
as
We
of now?
looked at, out at our jet ski, and we looked at using skunk cabbage to basically do a soil fix. And Larry did a small test plot there just to see in the future if we had that problem. And he was very successful in that, and that would mean, again, problem if we do something like that in planting, we have to take those fields out of service. And that's one of the reasons that we are having, looking at new spray fields, and we've done it in several other areas, is because when we first started permitting it through DEP regulations, they had something called the 72 no spray day scenario, which you can only not spray 72 days, and you can spray all the rest of the time. No one looked at the farming, no one looked at when we had to take our crops off. So we started investigating this and going back to DEP and saying the 72 no spray day does not work. You know, and then we started looking at more and more areas that we had, so we could make sure that we would rest our fields and that kind of stuff. And our last area that we're looking at is the Lejeski, Tursky, and Cold Spring area, that we need that ability to rest our spray fields, to do our farming techniques. You know, basically, when we crop the soils, crop the fields, we do it 3 times a year. We're down for 2 weeks. We have to let the soils dry out and the crops dry out, and then we basically harvest the crops. So that was never taken into account. So all of a sudden we're out about 6 weeks of spraying. So we need to have that additional area that we can continue spraying while we're rehabbing and doing stuff to our other spray pits. And that's what basically this project is try to give us a little breathing room so we can basically rehab our spray pits.
Yeah, I think that, again, even with that said, I think again, it's one of the reasons why I think it was critical to look at that particular case study was that it's showing where we are vulnerable, because there's absolutely no accountability for that air. And so to say these broad statements as that spray fields and using treated water is environmentally safe. Well, our environment is comprised of air, land, and water. So when you omit one of those components, that's a problem. And so there is a blind spot. And I think that what we're seeing on even global levels, because this is something that is, this is a practice that's predominantly used in developing areas. I'd like to think that we are above that. But you can look to a lot of reports looking how other developing areas were really negatively impacted as well. But again, there is a law that prohibits the monitoring of air pollutants and contaminants on agricultural land, which this is called. And so
This is township government land, it's not agricultural. We use it for agriculture because we rotate the crops to amend the soil. That's what Gary,
But there are
and Larry
different
did.
laws and different
but it's
regulations
not-
for
it's-
spray fields than a typical farm.
It's not, this is not
So some of the
private
things you're-
farmland, this is
I'm
public
aware,
land.
but there is no law requiring.
DEP currently does not require us to
Exactly,
do air monitoring.
correct.
But it's not
But
against
they
the law.
don't require air monitoring on any treatment
I
plant itself.
understand that.
And so when you're looking at any other treatment plant where you're having an intense aeration, you're getting more volatiles coming off that intense aeration than you are getting off of our spray field. I'm going to make a broad statement there because I don't know exactly what's coming off of our spray fields, but there's more
Exactly.
problems.
And because it is not an isolated, contained, and controlled area, and there's research that indicates people having acute and chronic symptoms. I think that we can see that there could be very well a correlation between the inhalation of harmful contaminants, that it is not environmentally safe, and there is no one beholden or accountable to make sure that those standards are safe.
You know what? We're beholding and we're accountable to our township residents. And
Not in that
you've been
regard.
here, you got here 2 years ago, you said? That's awesome. And the reason you moved to Buckingham is exactly the reason that we're all here. And all of you folks are sitting here in the audience with questions and concerns. We have strict regulations that we follow. And the first spray field went in, when did you say? 1988. So have in 1988, and now we have 230 acres of spray, for over 400 acres all told, open space because of our public water system. Have we ever had anyone have a concern about health? I'm not saying that they would necessarily run to the township, but since 1988, has there been any indication of what this lady is referring to?
I could just make one comment in March.
Well, hang on a second.
I'll
Yeah,
respond to your
yeah.
question now.
Okay.
Not that I know of, I don't receive all, but not that I know of that. We've never had any out at Buckingham Forest, which is our oldest one where Paul lives.
And I live there, right next to it.
Yeah, that I have not, in my knowledge, heard of anyone having acute sicknesses that they have come back and looked at our spray fields for.
That, I mean,
Okay,
Okay,
you know what?
that's
Could, the gentleman in the green
Oh,
shirt.
wait, the
Please,
woman
hang-
with the
I
blue.
know,
We
I
gotta
know.
get to her.
But he's been waiting and waiting and waiting, and then you can come back
Thank
and
you.
make your comment when he's finished? Thank you. Thank you. Here he comes. Great.
You actually already answered a few of my questions earlier, but
Good. If someone asked your questions,
you
and-
answered before you didn't ask. But Tim Farmeister, 3359 Indian Spring, so I'm adjacent to the property. I'm still trying to figure out how I feel about a spray field, right? There's lots of pros and cons in here tonight. What I've heard is this is an addition to what we already have. Is that correct?
Correct.
Why do we need it now? Like, what is the big driver that says today
Tim.
or in October, whatever, it's March, why did it have to happen?
I think.
To
Gary
better
just-
manage the
just
fields
address
that
that.
we have. As Gary was going through about when you cropping and you're farming and you're doing that, you can't use those spray fields. So other spray fields in the system have more of a burden. If you have more land where you can spread it out, you can spray on this site while you're cropping Lojeski, and vice versa. You can rest this site and when and crop this site when you're running spray on Lojeski. The other thing is sometimes just in certain years where you have heavy rain, which we have had some of these years, where your spray days just plummet because we don't spray in the rain for obvious reasons, that we then have to make sure that we can dispose of the wastewater. So this just gives some room. Gary says it better than I do, but
And I heard it.
it's good to better to manage our fields.
How we had a problem, how we had a situation we couldn't.
Yeah, tell me.
Yes.
Yes.
Again, what we looked at and we followed.
Yeah.
Gary, you need to stand up.
And
We
speak
have
up.
We have a.
I'll get you a stool.
So what we did originally, and we are one of the forefront people in the state of Pennsylvania who has done this, we followed the EPA manual, which DEP came up with, their own spray manual, but it follows the EPA manual almost word to word. And there were certain things that they said, this is how we want to design it, and we did that. And so now, as we have now had 30, 40 years experience, we're starting to see that maybe that manual for cropping, because they were just looking at water disposal. We started looking at this and saying we can't crop the way we should, basically to get the stuff off so we can continue growing more crops on it. And again, we had usually about a 6-week interval during the summer when we're supposed to be doing our heavy spraying, and we took the fields out of service. So we first started in Buck Forest, and we had an additional spray field 5. We put additional there. We went up to Fieldstone, and we did the Fieldstone one, which we had another 11 acres for the Fieldstone system.
Was that drip?
No, that's all
Spray.
It's all spray. And then we went and looked at the Cold Spring area. And now we're saying to the Cold Spring area, we need additional ones so we can crop it when we don't have the problems that we're having right now. So that's basically why we're looking at the additional spray fields, so we can properly maintain.
So it doesn't have it, like, I'll say my gut reactions, are we preparing for more housing? Are we
No.
preparing
No.
for more
Oh, no.
expansion? I just like,
No.
that's why.
This is Buckingham, we're trying not to have
No.
crashes.
And it was going to be more houses.
Yes.
Yeah, but no, we're not preparing for more.
And
It's for existing. It's for existing.
so you made me think of a great point, and that is, when I first moved here, partly it was because it was a farming community, where we do farming and agricultural things, including spray fields. And I, as a sewer customer, public sewer customer, most tax parcels are not on public sewer. So the people, like in this room that are on public, and myself, have paid for those 500 acres. We need it, don't get me wrong, but the rest of the township has benefited from 500 acres of permanent open space from water and sewer customers, not from tax dollars. That's really important. These are not tax dollars. These are customer dollars. So just some other benefits, I just wanted to say.
And with growth, and the way PEP originally looked at that, they wanted to limit our spray fields to limit growth. That was their main thing back in the 80s and 90s. We're not going to make our spray fields that big because we're going to limit growth. And our discussions with them is, you have a treatment process in front of this which limits growth. Because we're not gonna be adding more lagoon capacity.
No.
You know, we just want the spray field so we can, additional spray field, so we can actually do, you know, our proper farming techniques. So we are governed by our treatment process of how much we can push through, our spray fields. So we are permitted on our treatment facility. And what they're saying now, finally, they came around to it and said, yes, we understand that you need to do your renovations and stuff to your spray fields and for your cuttings and stuff like that. So we're not looking at your spray field now as restricting growth. We're looking at what you're doing now to benefit your existing spray fields. So what they're still saying to us is, you are governed by your treatment process. This is how many gallons per day. And if you look at Cold Spring, we have no EDUs left. If you look at Furlong, we have
Well,
no EDUs.
Gary, you need to explain what an EDU
An
is.
EDU, equivalent dwelling unit, a house, you know, or an apartment, or a townhouse. So we don't have any room, according to our planning, that we can put into those lagoons. And we can't put them into most every one of our lagoons. I don't know if we look at, and I haven't looked at the McKee one yet, but I don't think we can put an extra capacity in there. I mean, so we are governed by what we can, and we really don't want any more water going into lagoons because we have to get rid of it. And a lot of the problem that we didn't look at back in the 80s is when we have a 3-inch rain, that 3-inch rain goes into the lagoons. So now we have extra water to get rid of. When DEP came up with this thing, they never considered that. So now we go from what the DEP in the 80s said, 90 days storage is fine. We are now up to 120 days storage. So we have increased our storage, making sure that we don't overflow a lagoon, because I never want to see, you know, a 15-foot deep lagoon having breached.
So, just to that point, next to Union Springs Road, flooding around back, falling apart, well, flooding is a big problem as well. I know you said you'll be testing the ground, but is there any chance this will add to flooding?
No, what we do is we design the spray fields at that infiltration rate, what I talked about when we do. And we're only allowed to use 5% infiltration rate of the field itself. So the infiltration rate of a field has, you can put X amount of water down on it. DEP says, okay, 5% is what you can actually put down on that. So we are limited by the amount of water we can actually put down, and we're limited by the actual nitrogen that we can put down. So when we do our calculations, we're looking at basically infiltration, and we're looking at nitrogen, or nitrogen balance. So we're trying to balance those two things when we're looking at our spreadsheets. Okay.
Now, wait, this lady is gonna
And then,
comment,
and Garrett, then
and
you
then
can be
Garrett.
next.
Yeah.
Okay?
Oh, now you have the
But we
blown
still
sweater.
We still have her.
Okay.
One in the boat.
Oh,
Good.
My name is Christine Tomlinson. I am a lifelong resident of Buckingham Township. I live on Antler Drive. And I just have 2 comments. One is just to, I believe it's Gary had said in his first, explanation of water and all the different science behind the decision making, that most of the current spray fields are placed away from private wells. So my question is, how was the decision come to put this location around one of the higher concentrations of private wells in the township? Not to mention our adjoining neighbors who are in Tilbury Township with a large neighborhood of private wells that will also be affected. And to Maggie's question about since 1988, we've been doing this same process, and perhaps people have not come forward with medical conditions and chronic illnesses. I will draw to your attention that in March, we received an email from Central Bucks East High School requiring that all students refrain from drinking the water because PFOS were found in the water at the school. And if you do some research, it asks, how does PFOS get into drinking water? The 4 major sources of this are fire training, industrial sites, landfills, and wastewater treatment. That happened just as recently as March of this year. So to your question, no, perhaps people have not come forward with medical issues yet. But possibly they will. A lot of the research that I read, and I am no expert, I'm just doing a 2-day scan from when I found out, talks about the increased levels of heavy metals, pharmaceutical contaminants, and nitrates found in locations that are close
Hang
to
on.
these type of spray fields.
Yeah, and I think, I saw that letter. So, actually, before I ask Jim to speak to it, because I think it's referring to streams, how many people here go to Giant or Costco and buy like a little pallet of, water bottles full of water? Anybody here? I hope not. Nobody uses plastic bottles?
What does that have to do with this?
Because that's where the PFAS is coming from also. That's why I was asking. I'm not criticizing, I'm just asking.
In this document, in this explanation, they don't say it comes from plastics. They say the specific 4 things that it comes from. And yes,
It is plastic.
I understand that, but that's in the news, that's a major contaminating source, but that's not
Then what do we do
wastewater.
with everybody
Except that we have no
Except-
spray field near CBEs.
And CBE's has
Right, but you have it up the road at the cold spring and the way the water runs, I'm not familiar with it.
Jim, could you speak to the contaminants and where they're going and not necessarily in our spray fields, really?
Yeah, so, so there are lots and lots and lots of sources of PFAS. Carpets, fleece jackets, baby diapers, there's a whole bunch of stuff. The problem is when you wash that, it all goes into your wastewater, which then goes to the wastewater treatment plant, which is where you can find it. But it's really from our acquisition of articles and things like that, it's the real source of it, it's not the wastewater itself that's creating PFAS.
Understand. And how about the pharmaceutical, like there's other things that are part of it, not just one piece.
But it's not being
What does that
sprayed
have to do with spray fields?
to come out in the treatment plant.
It's in everybody's septic system.
We gotta get the.
So, go ahead, you want to call on.
Lady in the white.
You gotta get the white sweater, just come up, I'm calling you. You come, because I've been able to see.
I know, John
Trying to
had
come
a
up.
firefighter he wanted to call
No,
on.
that's all right.
We're good.
And I'm gonna
Everybody-
change the subject, so.
Oh, okay.
This is just so you can read along with me.
Great, thank you.
Oh. And I
don't-
swear.
Could I have another one here? Do you have enough?
I have one more.
Give it to Craig, I'll look over it.
Chair, and then there's 3 of these.
Okay. Oh, yeah. I have this.
Okay, Devonshire?
Yes, and I feel bad because some of my neighbors left. But I will be super quick.
What, you take the time you need.
Sorry, guys, I need to change the subject. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yep.
So my name's Nicole Hellier. I live at 2041 Bedfordshire Road in
Talking to the mic,
Please,
not that
thank you.
it does any good.
It's the height thing.
Yeah. No?
Yep.
No.
Yeah, you better.
I think that's helpful.
So, we've been working on this for a little bit, so I'm speaking just for 10 of us in our development. We are just requesting that the Buckingham Township Board of Supervisors can review Section 502A, point 3 of the zoning ordinance to Devonshire Estates to lots 167 to 175, and possibly dissolve the double asterisk setback requirement. So, I bought my property August 10th, 2020, and section 502A-8.3 of the zoning ordinance requires a 40 feet rear yard setback for 187 of the 197 houses in my development. If you see on the next page, there's the 4-layer outline of our development. However, there's a double asterisk after this setback requirement, which references requiring a setback of 75 feet under certain circumstances. One of those circumstances is where a rear yard borders the Devonshire 1 overlay district boundary, where the boundary is not coincident with the Devonshire 2 outlay district boundary. Although the meaning of this provision is confusing at best, I acknowledge that I am one of the 10 houses affected by the double asterisk, subject to these conditions. This understanding was made by reviewing the recorded subdivision plan for Devonshire Estates. The map below indicates that the setback for 10 lots, including mine, are subject to 75 feet rear yard setbacks and 75-foot buffer yards, presumably because the boundary is not coincident with the Devonshire 2 overlay district boundary. You'll see in the next picture, I've highlighted the 10 houses in the development that are affected by this. So with respect to my property, compliance with the 75 feet yard setback and the 75-foot rear buffer yard results in there being virtually no area behind my residence on the property where improvements can be constructed. The builder, Orleans, built my home right up against the buffer yard partition. This circumstance imposes an unreasonable hardship on the use of my own property. I pay the same taxes as my neighbors. I'm responsible for the care and upkeep of the buffer yard and the setback, even though I cannot make any improvements to them. Lot 170 below, you can see the double asterisk set of broken lines. That's my parcel. If we were not subject to the double asterisk 75-foot buffer yard and the 75-foot setback rule, the work I proposed previously would comply with the base requirement of a 40-foot rear yard setback that the other 187 homes are subject to. In the next picture, you'll see the 75-foot rear yard requirement only affects properties whose rear yards do not share a boundary with the Devonshire 2 overlay district. As an examination of photos on the previous page demonstrates, a huge majority of the lots in Devonshire area are not subject to the 75 feet buffer yard and the 75-foot setback provision. Furthermore, according to these photographs, there are several lots that are subject to the 75-foot rear yard requirement and have improvements constructed within this setback. A pool permit was issued for 2065 Bedfordshire Road in July 22 in error, and the pool was constructed two doors down from my residence. The existence of improvements within the 75 feet setback on a neighboring property is not a justification to excuse compliance with the setback as it applies to my property. However, this photograph demonstrates that dissolving the 75-foot buffer yard and 75-foot setback for the 10 houses will not adversely affect neighboring properties or the character of our Devonshire neighborhood. The photo below also demonstrates that, you'll see them on the next page. The photos below also demonstrate that the area behind my home consists of a substantial area of woods with large trees. This area is supposed to be preserved and is no longer farmed. The owner of the property, when the agreement was made with the builder on August 30th, 2000, passed away, and the land has been sold. Trees have fallen throughout the years and have not been replaced, and some of the land has been cleared. You can see all the downed tree debris that have been pushed to sit along my property line. That photo shows the back of my home on the next page. The land is used for ATV riding, as you can see from the fresh track mark photos. Heavy equipment storage and recreational bow hunting is being marketed. Allowing us, the 10 lots affected, the 40-foot setback that most houses in the area have will not adversely affect the property in the rear of lots 175 through 167. So you see the ATV and the bow hunting advertisement for the person that controls that and gets paid for that, collects from the hunters. So, when I purchased my home in 2020, the first line was location, location, location on a premium oversized lot backing towards this fabulous Bradford. We were misled by the previous owner to think we could use the entire yard as we intended to install a pool and other amenities. The majority of the 10 homes affected by this double asterisk rule are not original owners. Considering what we have since learned concerning the rear yard setback, we have limited the improvements that we previously proposed. I only have 8 feet of land. These properties are burdened by a 75, in summary, these properties are burdened by a 75 feet rear yard setback and a 75-foot buffer yard that is not imposed on a huge majority of lots in Devonshire subdivision. Because the 75-foot setback extends to the edge of the rear of my residence, there are only 8 buildable feet where improvements can be constructed in compliance with the rear yard setback requirements established by section 502A.3. We, the owners, we haven't created this situation. Most of us weren't aware until after we purchased our homes. We love where we live, and we're not looking to change the aesthetic of Buckingham Township. But you have the power to make a difference in people's lives, and I myself am honestly emotionally and financially exhausted from this journey. I just want to enjoy my home in peace. So I just wanted you guys to review that and see if it's still accurate.
Yeah, and just to give you my preliminary recollection from the Devonshire time, the property that is behind you was a preserve farm, and we had a different buffer requirement along, for development sites next to preserve farm. So that's why I believe, and again, we're gonna have to look into it a little bit more, but I believe that is why.
Dan, isn't this also a plan?
It's a plan requirement
Yeah.
as well,
So
and
this
it
board
is.
doesn't have the authority unilaterally
To waive it, right. But again, I'm just trying to explain, I believe that at the time, there was a requirement that the buffer be increased along the preserve farm, which your properties abut. So that was why we had that, and I think when we revised the ordinance, we crafted the wording of the overlay district. So the overlay district didn't really apply to why it was there, it was just the way to define where it was, rather than calling lot numbers out, it was just an easier way to define a boundary.
Yeah,
So-
mine is the most affected. So I literally, my sliding doors, I have 8 feet, so I could only put steps.
Unfortunately, it's a subdivision plan, so every resident in Devonshire, as well as, and correct me if I'm wrong, anybody that's adjacent to you would have the ability to put up an objection to you having that right. So this board doesn't necessarily, is not the only person who would be involved in reducing that buffer yard. Again, it's a subdivision plan that everybody that lives in your community is subject to, and that's sort of why our hands are tied, because that's the subdivision plan that everyone bought. Your neighbor, the neighbor that lives next to you on the farm, all are, have the rights from that plan. So it's not as simple as just having the board say, yeah, you can go ahead and
It's
build off
just
of
10
it.
houses, that's why.
But it's not, it's everybody in Devonshire that is subject to this overall record plan has the right to object, and your homeowners association as well.
Yeah, but they told me I could build, so.
Your HOA did?
Yeah.
Okay.
They
The
approved
HOA
it.
did?
Yeah, they improved the installation of a deck in my backyard, and then, it was declined here.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
we'll talk about that.
the zoning board just suggested I talk to you, so that's why I did this.
Well, the
so.
zoning hearing board couldn't probably give you relief for the very reasons we're talking about it, and that is that the township, when there's a subdivision plan like this put in place, everybody that buys a lot in that subdivision is deemed to have rights to that subdivision plan. So, how this becomes awkward is, if anybody in Devonshire decided they wanted to object to your building more than 8 feet, they could.
Yeah.
And then you could build a deck or whatever, and you'd have to tear it down because they objected to it. Now, I mean, technically, if you got everyone's signature and said it's okay, it would be fine. I suspect this board would probably be fine with it. But the problem is you'd have to get the okay from everyone else in the development. And as Dan said, even people bordering the development that are deemed to be benefiting from the development plan restrictions.
Could
I appreciate you.
I'm sorry you sat there all this through all of
It's all
this.
right, I felt bad, because I felt like I was minimal compared to
No,
everybody else
no,
here.
I apologize, I should have asked if anyone had something besides spray fields, so can you, if you did get everybody's signature, could you have the HOA facilitate that?
I only want, I know this sounds so minimal to you guys, but I only want 5 feet. I just want 5 more feet. I have like 0.6 acres and I can't do anything. Like, it's not buildable. I like have 8 feet. I'm like, just give me 5 more. That's all I want. Just to build a deck. Like, I don't care. Like, it's fine. Like, but I just feel like I'm like stuck. My house is the worst affected by the thing. So
You have a wedgie.
I'm in the wedge.
Yeah,
I am.
you're in the wedge.
It's the story of my life. I'm the wedge.
Jared, now,
I
Well, we
apologize.
can
No, thank you.
And I'll do a little more research
You know
to
what,
make sure
and
that.
we'll look into it more with you too, like, follow up with us in the office, and, we'll see what we can, okay,
Yeah,
great.
our neighbors, we got other neighbors, we're just trying to see what we can do.
So, I just want to be sure, you've been to the
What
zoning
is
hearing
going
board?
to be loud?
I have,
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
And they told you basically they don't have the ability to grant you the relief you
well,
want.
they said
Because the plan now?
Yeah.
maybe we could do so many feet, but now it's well, if you have to put this in, you're gonna need this many more feet, so I'm gonna have to go back again. I'll go back again, you know, A for effort.
So sorry.
Okay.
But I appreciate you, thank you.
You were misled.
Jared now.
Jared?
Thanks.
It's Miles Scambozzi, 45, Miles Scambozzi, 4591 Newcastle Road. I wanted to thank you for the stewardship that you're doing with the land. And when you're driving around Bucks County, seeing and Buckingham, seeing all the different open fields with the preservation and the open space.
Oh,
Thanks,
thank
George.
you.
Thanks, Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we have a meeting to get on to, but
Oh,
does
wait.
anybody else have anything they want to add that we haven't heard from before? Man in the blue sweater.
Yes, thank you. Will there be further meetings about this subject, or is this the final meeting?
Well,
There's all further meetings about
Yeah,
it. This
we-
is not even
I
a
mean,
meeting about
this
this
is-
subject.
yeah.
Public
Yeah.
comment,
no,
yeah.
it's, the next thing is they'll begin to
Design.
design it.
And I think the other thing is that we'll probably also look at having a more just informational session that maybe we can work out with our volunteers at the EAC that just goes into more depth on spray fields in general and that kind of thing. And, you know, you can get some more information there too.
So I'm Matthew Henderson, and I live at 3387 Indian Spring Road. And I didn't really want to say anything, I just wanted to come here tonight and listen. So is the township interested in buying any of the other adjacent properties, residential homes that are adjacent to this field? Since you bought this field at above asking price, would there be above asking price interest for some of the other? Yeah, so it's funny, right?
No, it's not funny.
So it's always risky,
It
right?
was
So I'm
it
listening to
was
this gentleman
appraisal
here,
price.
listening to this gentleman here.
Wait, did you hear what John said?
Yeah, we bought it, we can't buy land unless it's appraised. And that's what the appraisal price was.
Yeah, we didn't
We
just
can't
say,
just
oh,
go
let's
out
give
and
him
make
more
up a
money
number.
because we really want
It's
to buy
gotta be
this.
appraised.
The
Okay,
process.
now, are there minutes being taken for this meeting, by the way?
Yeah.
Sure is.
Mary Jane's taking.
So,
Why? Because you think that's not true?
I'm just asking this to clarify.
Yeah, Mary, we take minutes every night.
Fair
Good.
question. Two gentlemen up here, very interesting anecdotal information that's been shared, and I think a lot of information is anecdotal. There is meta-analysis to show pros and cons of the spray fields, depending on what you want to look for. I think it's risky, this is my personal view, building a plan based on 1980s science and data.
No, it's not,
No.
it's not 1980s.
No, we have evolved from the 1980s,
Okay.
so we have all new.
We've just been doing it since the
All right, so
1980s.
quick question for you. Since it's perfectly safe to have spray fields near wells, why is there a regulation around how close those spray fields can be to a well?
The regulations are based on the sand mound septic system, and what DEP has come back and decided is that they will impose that on the spray field. So we have those same isolation distances that you have from your well to your septic tank. We exceed that.
So on Indian Spring Road, so you can't prove the correlation for this, right? It is anecdotal, so I'm not making this as a definitive statement. There's a woman across the street from us on Indian Spring Road, the woman across the street from her on Indian Spring Road who shares the long driveway with us, my next door neighbor, and then my wife on Valentine's Day, all have died from colon cancer on our street.
I'm
So
sorry.
very, very
Sorry.
interesting, but it's not just, I think, panacea, right? Just put a spray field in and say that there's just no risk factors for health associated with it. I'll leave it at that.
I can add to that. The lot land is for sale on Indian Spring Road and Long
Wait,
wait,
Lane.
you have to give MJ, Mary Jane, your
My name
name.
is Chris Tomlinson, I live at 3117 Antler Drive. The gentleman that owned the land is 16 acres on the corner of Indian Spring and Long Lane. I worked at his house, I'm an electrician. He told me flat out, I said, why don't you subdivide this? He goes, I cannot, because of the runoff from the chemicals of the farm. His water would not be approved for subdivision, and subsequently he has cancer.
And-
True
That's-
story,
and to-
right out of the horse's mouth.
We're not close to, those are the properties,
Which,
Where?
what properties are you talking about?
What
You said the,
properties?
It's the corner of Long Lane and Indian Spring Road. There's a 15 or 16 acre parcel with a single family home, swimming pool, and a large 4 or 5 car detached garage.
okay,
He built it in the 80s. He says he could not sell it to a developer. And when he had his water tested, he had to do it between farming cycles because depending on the chemicals and what went into the well water, it wouldn't pass.
this is on the other side of Long Lane for Maximums, cross street for Maximums?
It's on the same side.
Goes on the low side.
It's on Indian Spring right at that corner.
It's
It's
the
not,
low side.
it's not where
Yellow?
Barbie's building.
It's not the
on
yellow?
that corner.
The Biello tract?
Right next
Oh.
to that farm.
Backs up to Tom Tritecki's farm?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, there was a subdivision plan 15 years ago in here for that, and it died because of, they didn't get
And was
approvals.
Was the Stony Mead Sprayfield in there yet?
Because of the runoff, had polluted his well water.
Huh.
And he could not sell it, because I said, why isn't this subdivided? Why didn't the builder scoff this up? And that was the reason why.
There was a developer that was trying to build on it, and I think they came to the understanding the township wasn't supportive of their proposed application, but I don't recall there ever being any contamination in the water.
No.
That was never presented to the township.
The homeowner, the person who.
No, I
I'm not
understand.
suggesting
He
that there
told you
wasn't a
that.
water
It's
problem,
not
I'm just
that.
saying.
It's just-
That's quite an admission from somebody that's, you know what I mean? I don't think that he would just come up with some erroneous excuse.
Yeah.
I mean,
You know,
But
that's-
How
I
deep,
just
how
have
deep
no
was his
idea.
well?
What's that?
How deep was the well?
It's an older,
I mean, if it's an old home, it
It's
could
an
have a
old home.
40-foot well.
It's built in the 80s, I know.
Oh, and was he farming on it? Is that what
No,
you
it was
said?
Yeah,
Tricetti's farm.
we have
he
some
was getting
really
runoff from
shallow
Tricetti.
wells.
We don't know.
I don't know
Yeah,
yet.
I don't know.
Right, that's what Gary, I mean, what they said is what we're doing, is getting
Someone
rid
else.
of that.
So-
Yeah,
so
we're,
we got-
yeah, that's
I
what we're
think Mike
getting rid
wants
of.
to speak to it.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
I just wanna make sure we're done with I don't wanna go until we're still on topic
Oh, what?
with this.
You can do whatever you want.
Keep going.
I think the red.
Yeah.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
My name is Diane Treat. I'm at 5816 Mechanicsville Road. So I am unfortunately one of the homes that will be surrounded by these spray fields. I have a multitude of questions and concerns, which I want to be clear. Are we having another meeting on spray fields on the next meeting? Will it be part of the agenda, yes or no?
No.
No,
This is
this
public
is
comment.
public
Yeah, it's
comment.
public comment.
So if
This
you
is
wanna
not a
consider
meeting.
this a meeting,
We
No,
may
no,
have
it's
an
public comment.
informational meeting when it comes to water
So
and
how
sewer.
do I get?
Well,
on
and
the
I
agenda?
also talked to you that we would keep in touch through it because
Yes,
you
spoke to me last
yeah,
Friday
yeah,
when
and
Mr. Ricardo came over and told me that this was happening.
yeah, and I told you you and I will talk through that. Mrs. Treat, she owns the parcel, the out parcel right in there, one of the two out parcels
Yes,
in there.
my neighbor behind me who will also be surrounded is here as well.
Good.
So how do I get on the agenda to have another meeting about the spray fields? Is that not a possibility?
every meeting it is, cause this is public comment.
Well,
Hold on a
I
second.
think
No.
what I had offered to you was actually more even just to me, as we're designing it, to be part of, to know of that too. I mean, I think obviously, everyone can be informed of that, but you and your neighbor that are right, in that out parcel, we were talking about any specific concerns and that kind of thing. We can certainly sit down also just to talk about some of your specific things as we're designing and in doing that. I mean, the design each time, each meeting doesn't come back to the board like each month through the design when you're designing a spray field. But I know we had said that we would, look at everything before we even start. We're not really started yet.
I mean, we have several things, we have the hydraulic.
Yeah, we still have some studies and some base information that we have to get on the property that Gary can speak to better than I, but you know, about the soil test and things before things are even planned. Like we can, you know, keep you in the loop on that.
So I guess that's part of the question then. So is this a done deal already? Have you tested the property and it's perfectly safe for what you guys want for spray fields? And also the other question is, why did you choose this property, which is so close to so many residents who have private wells? Why don't you do spray fields in areas where there aren't so many homes?
Yeah, there's not that much land for sale in Buckingham.
It's available land that was for sale that's adjacent to an existing spray field.
So if it was for sale, why did you have to take it by eminent domain?
Well, I think, and we kind of explained some of that, we offered the full price for it. The previous owner came back, wanted more money, wanted to develop the open space that's attached to your property too on that other side, that adjacent property, that preserved also.
He wanted to develop.
No, but that's
But
what
he
she's
wanted
saying.
to develop that also as part of the deal. And so when we were kind of going back and forth and we came to a point where he was just asking for more and more, the township went that next
We
step.
can't pay it because the township
And we
is
can't
limited.
pay, we can only pay appraised value. We can't pay $2 million. We can't, you know, then allow him to build a house next to your house in the open space parcel. So that is where we went to.
Why do you get to choose that the neighbors want spray fields rather than 7 homes there?
Because we gotta look at the whole township.
But there's 7 homes would also need
More spray.
wastewater treatment.
Wait, so we're gonna put wastewater treatment on the other.
So.
Also, 7, you know, you're saying, you know, the spray fields will increase the value of my home, yet I've spoken to several realtors around here who say it brings the value of the entire neighborhood down.
That's not true.
So
That's not.
Anyway.
Okay, fine. Everybody has an opinion.
Okay, so,
Thank you.
Does anyone else? Blue shirt? Blue shirt?
In woods.
Matthew Martindale, 5866 South Deer Run Road. 2 questions.
Can you, I'm sorry,
I'm sorry,
can you repeat that?
Matthew Martindale, 5866 South Deer Run Road.
Thank you, Mark.
Paul, question for you first. You were so proudly stating that you weren't worried about your kids being poisoned. Are you on public water or do you have a well?
Well, I do take a little offense to that because we're all worried about our kids with anything that could happen. That's not, I'll say that's not exactly what I meant, but I've been there, I've been next to a spray field and basin for over a couple decades. And I can just tell you the experience that my family and my neighbors have had. So.
Are you drinking well water or are you drinking public water?
I drink public water.
Okay, then that.
And I have.
Okay, then you don't have to.
And
worry
I
about-
have
you don't have to worry about a well. You don't have to worry about a well then.
Well, no, but public water is well
Well
water.
water.
It is well water.
It is well water.
Treated well water. It's treated well water.
Listen, you have to follow the science. And Gary explained to you the science of how water filters through the ground.
You said your test wells are 40 feet down.
To monitor the groundwater, yeah.
Okay, what about all of us with our wells that are 100, 150, 200 feet down? Where's that testing?
Well, we're
Gary?
trying.
Stand up again.
What we're trying to do is look at the top of the groundwater system. You're pulling from 100 feet down below that.
We're pulling from water shells.
And what we're trying to do is see what's actually getting into the groundwater. So what we're looking at is that first layer of groundwater to make sure that it doesn't percolate down to where your wells are.
Okay.
So that's what we're trying to do. And just to say something, the only treatment that Buckingham Township does for its water, except for the arsenic removal up in Cold Spring, and we're going to be putting a PFOA up in Cold Spring because we have PFOAs there. The only other treatment that we do is just disinfection. And surrounding the Buckingham forest where Paul lives, our wells surround that whole,
I understand they surround it, but
Spray
they're only
field.
40 feet, they're not telling you the true depth of everybody else's wells
No,
around us.
No,
we're
our,
just
No, the
sampling.
water wells.
our water wells
water
for
wells
our
are-
public
wells
water
down.
are also
Are
there.
they being monitored and tested?
Yes.
And all that? Yes.
We have to, again.
And it has to be-
DEP.
And how deep are they?
It depends on where they are.
Okay.
You know, we have some wells that are, where there's no water, 700 feet deep. We have some wells that are 60 feet deep. So depending on where the water is in the water bearing zones, is actually where we set our pumps and stuff like that. We just dug one down at, FAA, our newest well that we're looking down, and I believe we hit 500 feet. So, you know, so wherever the water is that's where, how far we go down to. But for what we're looking for sampling, just the sample to make sure that we're not getting pollutants down into this, that's why we have our monitoring wells, just sampling the top of the groundwater, just to see what we're actually putting into the groundwater.
And John, you referenced earlier, Johnsville was all PFOA.
Johnsville.
From firefighting.
Yeah.
Do you have the reports for that?
No, but I remember the federal studies.
Okay.
And most of it was from practice, the firefighters would practice crash.
Did you live down there?
What's that?
Did you live there?
No, but I know people that live down there. I mean,
Okay,
it's all,
I will tell you,
yeah, it's a mess.
and I'm gonna make this very, as short as I possibly
It's a
can.
mess.
I'm a ground zero child of that.
Yeah.
Okay?
I know Shenandoah Woods is probably just
Shenandoah
abandoned.
was not the ground zero.
Yeah, well,
Kirk Road was the ground zero. My father died from it.
yeah, I mean,
He lived in nuclear winter for 26 years. Those reports are sealed. 2 years after my father died, they came and sealed our well and refused to give us the reports to this day. My sister's still fighting to get the reports of what's in those wells. So if they're not giving us those reports for 33 years, those things started back in the 50s. My father died in 1991. You're asking about people reporting things and people dying. It took 42 years for people to start doing this. So you don't know. You have no clue. So why are you going to spray stuff that you don't know about? The EPA, as much as everybody loves them, and the DEP, as much as everybody loves them, I've been fighting this my whole life. I was born in that house. I drank that water. I drank that hose. I played in the creeks. Every one of my neighbors and family members are sick from this. And now you're going to do this to me again.
well, that was
I moved out
firefighting
here
foam and jet fuel.
I'm telling you, it's not just fire foam.
And it's
I
not,
lived there. I lived across the street from it. I watched them spray the runways. I watched them spray the roads. I watched them use the fire foams. I played in the planes that they sprayed the fire foams on. I know exactly what happened in there. You want to go by a federal report. That's what you want to go by. Because they don't want to release the true chemicals and the true everything that's there. I lived it. Please don't argue with somebody that lived it. You're going to poison us all.
I have a couple of questions and I want to.
Well, go to the microphone and give your name and address.
Aw, thanks, Mike. Oh. Living in Buckingham, I have seen a lot of different things with wells. Do you by any chance know if you were to build a home today, what is the depth of the well that you would have to put in? What is required today to put a well in if you were to build a house? That's an important factor.
depends
Does
where the,
anybody know?
yeah, it depends where the property is.
150 to 200 feet,
It's
standard.
150, I'm sure, or
Standard.
not more today.
Yeah.
It was 150, 200 when I built 45 years ago. If that's the case, how come this is going to be so shallow? And have you had any studies, or are you going to have studies, to show where the water goes, how deep it's going to go when it's after it's sprayed? What happens with this water?
That's
with
what
all these
Gary-
houses?
He's been talking
I
about
know
all night.
Yeah,
myself.
Gary's been talking about monitoring wells all night.
I'm
They're-
sorry, what?
The monitoring wells that are surround the spray field are to monitor the water from the spray field. It's not for well water.
And
That's what he's been speaking about all night.
I know, but no one had knows
Do you test the private wells
the
that's
answers of
around
what the wells are.
Ma'am, she's
that are
talking.
there. Are they 150? It was required today, a good 150 to put in a house, and I think it may be 200, but I'm
For
not
well
sure.
water, absolutely. It's DP, for well water, yes.
These are
absolutely.
monitoring wells?
No, she's talking about wells.
No, but I'm saying the ones that Gary's speaking of and the testing we do are monitoring wells. So they're not potable water wells, so we don't have to go 150 feet. These are wells that we were putting in to test the water before it gets into the aquifer. So that's what the purpose of these wells are, test wells. They're not actual drinking wells. We're not pulling water out of those.
Yeah, sure, I'm
As part
glad
of-
to hear it. I like to hear anything else.
As part of our hydrogeological study, we do a plume analysis to see where the water is going.
That's,
So that will be, I'll have to ask the township if they can make that,
one study.
if they can make that available when we finish our study on that. Basically, it goes into the design report.
Yeah, that's not, you just can't give out information about where actual wells are, because
Right.
someone will go out and put something in them.
So this is basically what we do, is we do a groundwater mounding analysis and a plume analysis. Say, okay, this is where, how much the groundwater will rise in this area by the amount of water we're putting down, and where the water actually goes
Down when it gets lower.
when it gets down, and how the water moves through the aquifers from our spray field. And that is a requirement of DEP, that we have to submit that. And there's certain things that if we exceed whatever we have, and we've never done that yet, they will say you can't put your spray fields in. So, we go through a hydrological study to look at the groundwater in that area that we're actually working in.
One other study I was also thinking about, and if the township has thought about it, where the spray areas are now, have you done any studies to health studies for the people that live in those areas? And if not, would you think it would be a good idea to do that?
Why would we do that?
Well, I
Just let them die.
We have all these sprays.
Anybody else that has not spoken want to speak? Okay.
Shall be done.
No. Just ask if anybody else wants to ask you a question. Are you gonna do those at the DVO?
I don't know, they didn't answer my question.
Public comment.
So you're going to do any
Certainly
studies on
something to
health issues
consider.
around the sprays?
Something to consider. We've never
That's
had
what I'm-
this
that's why I'm
kind of,
bringing it up. It's something that
Our-
should
okay,
be possible.
a gentleman wants to talk behind you.
Hello. I am done.
How you doing?
She wasn't done. I wasn't done. I was wondering what we were doing about studies for the people who live around the sprays, and I didn't get an answer.
Oh, Maggie just said
I said
that's
it's
something that can
something
be
that
considered.
we would, out of this
Before you
meeting,
set
that we'll
this up?
consider.
Yeah, yep, okay.
Thanks, Charlie.
Would that be before you set this spray
No.
mitigation up?
No, we
Not
don't.
necessarily.
We're not, oh,
I mean, to be totally transparent, no.
go ahead.
Hello, my name's Edward Couvrino. I live at 5877 Pheasant Lane. And I have friends that live near Cold Spring Creamery Road. And let me tell you something. I went to their house last August because I do car repairs. I got out of the car and I said, what in the world is that smell? So the mother says, oh, that's the spray fields ever since that's been going on. She says, sometimes I gotta keep my kids home or inside the house because they get nauseous when they are outside playing or going to school. She says, I said, well, how come you don't do anything? She goes, there's nothing you can do about it. And you know what? How come you didn't tell us that when we walked in here tonight? If you're here for a spray fields, don't even bother because it's a done deal. The only thing you can do is ask us questions, but we're going forward with everything. It's really not a democracy. It reminds me of every time I see ban the super Wawa, ban it. I said, in 6 months there'll be a super Wawa. There's nothing we can do basically, is what you're saying. It's going to go up no matter what. The only thing we can do here is find out how safe it is or how unsafe it is. So there's no way we're going to stop it. So it's our community, it's our tax dollars, it's our neighborhood, it's our wells, it's our septics that are getting damaged. And now we have to spend more money to monitor them even more often. So there's really nothing we can do. This is the United States of America. There's nothing we can do.
Before you leave, could you give me the contact to the
Yeah, the address.
person whose children are ill, because that's the beginning of a study like that.
They're not ill, they don't even wanna go outside. I mean, it's.
Well,
Do they live by Sparks?
It's the snow, it's just the
What-
snow, I
what-
smell.
We
And believe me,
don't
I'm in
have
really
any
good shape.
complaints.
What
I couldn't-
neighborhood?
My eyes, I couldn't,
Cold Spring Creamery.
I
What
couldn't
neighborhood?
believe it, and to say that it doesn't affect, it's the whole, I do 8 vehicles in that neighborhood. 6 of them told me that, the other 2 I drop off when they're not home, so I didn't even talk to them.
What
So
neighborhood?
don't tell me that
And
this thing is
could
not.
you,
What
could
neighborhood?
you please,
It's Cold Spring
could-
Creamery Road.
could you
It's
please
a bunch of
share,
people out there.
ask them if they're comfortable having you share
where
their
in Cold Spring
contact
Creamery
information?
I don't wanna get
Okay.
that information unless they ask me,
Yeah.
but it's the whole, I mean, driving through it, you can tell, I mean.
If it was.
Well, so
you know,
Cold Springs Community Road, which a lot of us, well, maybe not in this room, but some of us do. And I used to live there for like 12 years, and I lived in multiple homes there. There's also Sparks there, which was there before any of the homes. If anything, Sparks is more of the smell of anything. So I can tell you, when I lived there for all those years, which we had spray fields and stuff, it was mostly Sparks. And yes, Sparks, you are correct. Sometimes it is a very powerful smell. They have to go inside, but they were there first.
Or retention basins, which get smelly. But we really have to know what neighborhood it is, because there's thousands of homes along there, and you know, there's Fireside, there's Hearthstone, there's the Ridings. I mean, if you would narrow it down, because I'm up in those neighborhoods all the time.
It's near Burn House.
You drive
It's near
down
Burn House.
430.
Okay.
That's
So
Sparks.
that's Sparks,
But
that should
Sparks is
multiply
there.
on the corner.
No, wait,
Drive
he's,
past it,
he's
it's
responding to this
Yeah,
guy.
I'm responding to the
You
speaker.
could drive to
Yes.
Sparks.
Okay.
So,
So,
yeah.
so,
And another thing, you had mentioned earlier about you try to deflect and say, oh, well, how about when you get drinking water? I'll bet you that's where all the PFAs are coming from. How about I guess all the prescription drugs are in the drinking bottles too that we're buying from Giant? I mean, some people, it's not even through excretion. Some people just take their old pills and dump them in the toilet and flush them. How about that? I mean,
Well,
we gotta
that's
deal with all that.
that's what Jim was saying earlier.
That's why we have a drug take back
And you know what the
downstairs.
same
No,
thing is?
good.
My wife and I worked our butt off to move up here, and now it's the same thing. Now we have to move somewhere else. It's just I thought we were gonna stay here. We're not staying here. I guarantee that if I had my house appraised now and the market didn't change when they're in, I'll bet you they would take into consideration on your spray field. I guarantee it, 100%, no question about it.
yes.
No question about it. And that's
Anybody else?
not fair. It's not, this isn't a democracy. We can't even do anything about it. Like you said, the next meeting, we'll talk about the planning of it. I mean, so there's nothing we can do, basically. We're just here, blah, blah, that's all you're hearing is blah, 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 and then you're just gonna do what you wanna do. There's nothing we can do.
Well, you know what? That's not my intention, and just like I'm not gonna say why you're here. You know, we shouldn't attack each other's intentions and stuff, because that's where it breaks down. You know, so I would appreciate you don't attack my intention. I won't attack your intention.
I'm not attacking your
Is that the
intention.
truth though? Is that
It's the truth though. There's not, like whatever we do here tonight isn't gonna stop you from doing what you're doing. You bought it, you're not gonna take a property and not do what you wanted to do with it, because then what are you gonna do with it? Like you said, it was a lot of money, so you're gonna just go forward with what you're doing. There's nothing we can do
Sir,
with it.
we gotta get rid of the wastewater, and I'll tell you what. There's just there's more septic systems in this
Throwing it into the
township
streams.
than there are
That's the
spray
alternative.
fields. Okay,
Yeah.
just remember that.
Drip irrigation is another way.
Yeah.
There's many.
Okay,
Okay.
do you wanna have another comment?
No, that's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
This lady wants to speak, she was, been here waiting.
Can I speak?
No,
Sean, you're supposed
someone's
to
before
wait in
you.
line.
Can I speak?
No,
Sean,
this lady's going to speak before you. I
I'm
mean,
not enough, I don't need to be by the speaker. So I'm just.
name,
wondering about
name,
alternatives.
address.
Street Road. Wondering about the alternatives.
Do we get a name?
No, she didn't.
What's your name?
Jessica. Rosa.
Okay.
3371 Street Road, right across the street. What are alternatives for spray irrigation? So what I'm hearing is that a lot of concern is property values. So besides, if you're saying everything is going to be okay with the water, the wells, everything around it, that's wonderful. But there's the concern for, you have all these pipes coming up, the spray, the odor, the aerosols. You're saying we're not able to test the air.
with it, and we're not doing that type of testing. So what about drip irrigation? They do that for wastewater treatment as well, it's just more expensive.
It's
So
the
if
same,
that's able
it's the same
to
process.
alleviate everyone else's concern about seeing this all spring and having it aerosolize the odor, and you're still able to treat your water and get everything done, why is this not a discussion or an alternative?
It's the same process. Gary can answer you, but it's the same
No,
process.
it's not the same process. How can drip irrigation?
The cleaning of the water is the same. The water that comes out of
Yes.
drip and the water that comes out of a spray bulb is the same water. It's clean water.
No, but I understand
It's water.
that. I'm saying if there's complaining of odors, if they're concerned
The
about
odors are not coming
air
from
quality,
spray.
the water may be coming out the same, but you're not aerosolizing it.
It's not from this, but the odor would be from the basins, not the spray fields.
So is there a basin that will be put by the spray
Okay.
field, or is there no basin that's intended?
There's no basin. The basins are behind the district court, and they're all like when you go into Hearthstone. All the basins are all along Cold Spring Creamery Road.
Okay, so what I'm just saying is that if a lot of people are concerned about, one, yes, you're saying the water's not gonna be affected, let's just assume that's the case. But as far as for aesthetics, property values, and, not having that, because, people driving by, then you see that, nobody's gonna know it's a drip irrigation field, it just looks like open space.
You want to speak to that, Karen?
Is that possible?
In woods.
Well,
in woods.
Again,
It is possible to put drip irrigation down,
I know it's more expensive, but I think a lot of people would be happy with that, instead of having it sprayed about their house.
I will have discussions with the township on that.
But do we
well,
farm?
but I
do we
do
farm?
also
You
think
cannot-
that,
You can still farm all that, you can have.
You can't farm.
no.
So, and I wanna, just one clarification though, as far as.
It is
No,
the processing of the water is the same process.
Or what is it that you're actually farming off of those spray fields?
Hay,
Orchard grass.
orchard grass,
Okay, and what are
hay,
you
that
using
type
with
of
that
hay.
orchard grass? Where is it
That
going?
goes down to, it's either animal feed or it goes down to the mushroom farms.
But there's also been Maximonks have grown. They've grown sunflowers on there for bird
So
seed.
with drip
they've grown all kinds of
irrigation,
stuff.
that has also been used for agriculture,
But-
and you can run tractors over those kind of things. You can also have those types of depths.
When you do
Yeah.
drip irrigation with wastewater, you have to bury the tube 6
Yes.
inches below.
Yes.
And you can't
And they
farm.
are 12 inches
Yes.
spaced.
Do you know what they do in Iowa and everywhere else when they're irrigating their fields? That's what,
They go out and actually roll the drip tubes out, and then they roll them back in.
no,
When
they
they
don't.
actually-
My father was a farmer, Joe
Okay.
Strategic, that was right
Okay.
there.
But he's
Well,
But
farming is different than
Knowledge about
disposal of
agriculture.
But what I'm
wastewater.
looking at is what our regulations are for the state. We go down 6 inches, they're spaced on 12 inches, they're spaced 12 inches apart. To take a plow through that, to take something like
You
this.
don't need to plow,
to
you
take-
use no-till.
If you do no-till,
You
you
shouldn't be
still,
plowing,
if
because
you
when you
still
go
have.
ahead and plow, you're causing all types of soil erosion.
So
We
do they-
moved away from that 40 years ago.
So they do no-till, right, and they do
Yeah,
no.
you do no-till now.
You do no-till now, but
Yes.
you're still you do take an aerator through the fields, don't you?
What are you talking about?
Basically aerating the soil.
No.
You don't.
No,
The
you
whole
spray-
point is
you
if
spray
go
weed
ahead and
killer.
aerate the soil too much,
That's how you
turning
do
it
no-till.
over,
We're not
you're
turning it
losing
over.
all the nutrients.
Basically, what you're doing is going down and plugging, doing
Yes,
holes as
like,
you go.
like 2 inches or so.
I'll have to get our agronomist.
So I think this is something that should be looked at, because it could ameliorate a lot of our people's
I
concerns.
think it would be difficult to farm that.
Dana?
Values and not having
Yes.
any impact on the air, because we're not even testing.
Now you remember, as a fellow farmer, what do you spray on the ground before you do no-till?
Oh, it depends what kind of
Roundup.
farming you're
You
doing.
spray Roundup on the ground, you kill all the weeds, and then you go in and you plug it. So,
with organic farming.
No way.
yeah,
Maximox just did it.
yeah, that's how usually no-till works. Now, Sean, it's Sean's time to speak.
okay.
Sean,
it's
you
this
can come
fellow's-
up.
It's his
Who
turn.
wrote the blast that came out tonight?
The blast. Oh, you did, the information on the township? Yeah.
Jack.
Yeah.
Who?
The lawyer wrote it, the manager. So
Manager.
what's the matter? What's the problem? What is?
I
what-
wrote some of it. We had,
And I have my input into it.
we have input
Yeah.
of
Wastewater,
the solicitor
engineer
and the
wrote something.
engineer.
My original intentions were to preserve this
That's what we thought.
Yes. Want a two acre building envelope, got that to 2.5 acres. Through negotiation, talking to you at the, post office, got that to
Yep.
2.5 acres. For it to make sense to me, I needed another building envelope.
Speak
Another
up.
building lot.
Speak up. I mean, so these folks can hear.
Just so
you.
we
I
can-
needed another
Building
building lot to make sense for me. Financial sense. Then all the talk stopped. Then they said they wanted to buy the property from me. Township wanted to buy the property from me. I had the property listed for $2,675,000. $2,675,000. Had an offer for $2,450,000. You gonna disagree with that?
Yeah.
Yep.
I disagree with the fact that you said all the talk stopped. All the talks didn't.
When was our last conversation?
Yeah, our last
October? October?
Our last
Sean,
conversation
can we
was
just-
that you wanted
Come on.
to take 11 acres off of the 45.8. This was our last conversation, and lop it on to the 14. Who lives on the open space from, and lop it onto that so you could
Locking
develop
means
that.
take off, not put on.
I have the emails from you, and we said, no, you're not gonna do that and build on what's
Reserve
already open space to the people who live there and know that. So
I
don't
never
say all this,
intended to build on the
and you
14
got an
acres.
answer
I
that
wanted
said,
to
no,
make
we're
that
not doing that.
Usable.
Did Zavetta walk away from your deal?
Zabetta never walked away from any deal.
Okay.
So why do you pay me $1,420,000 for a property I had an agreement of sale for $2,450,000? Now we'll talk to the genius over here, the fucking
Speak to that.
genius.
Sean, can you respect your neighbors around you? I mean, come on.
You didn't.
They all know that word.
Yeah.
They all know what I've been put through for the past 2 fucking months.
Stop it. Stop using that language here. That's offensive.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
Well, Sean, I don't know how you think it went from 1.275 to $2.5 million, but
Read the MLS listing where it says 2.675 thousand.
yeah, with a house on it.
Well, no, that's $10 million with the house on it.
Okay.
Show them the biggest ever.
Did you ever look at the stuff I sent you?
I saw all the stuff you sent.
Who came up with that 2.475 or whatever it is?
The the multiple listing. It was
Yeah.
listed.
Yeah,
Did you read the listing?
It was
Paul, I
Yeah.
sent you that listing. Did you read it? Did you read the highlighted? 30 acres. 30 acres, not 45.8 acres. I'm a real estate agent. I know how to make things work. If I have 60 acres, I can sell 30 acres and 30 acres. Paul, you saw the letter I sent you.
I read everything that you and your wife sent me. Of course I did.
What do you disagree with?
I read everything you and your
It
wife
was
sent
40.
me.
It was 40 some acres for 1.275. That's what it was. I have the copy of it.
Did you read the listing where it says the description and the remarks? 30 acres. I highlighted it. Paul has it. I asked him to share it with you. Did you share it with him, Paul?
I got your email, I read your email, I shared your emails, so
So
that's
you
what I
shared
did.
it with Paul? You
With
shared
John.
it with
Yes.
Yes.
John?
Yes.
John, did you see the highlighted where it says 30 acres?
No, I didn't see that.
Craig,
This is 1.275.
just remember
I'm looking
legal
at it.
stuff, like what we can say and not say. Just wanna make sure
Yeah.
we're clear, Sean and us.
Sean's represented by a lawyer, so I'm not engaging with him to correct what he's saying because he's got counsel and it would be inappropriate for me to talk with him while he's got a lawyer.
Yeah, the
I
listing,
have to talk to the
the
lawyer.
listing I have says 1.275 for 40-some acres. That's the listing.
45.8, I'm looking at it.
Did you see what Paul sent you? Did you see what I sent Paul?
It doesn't,
It does matter, because I don't pay $1.7 million for a property I'm gonna sell for 1.275. Who would do
But
that?
you didn't pay 1.7.
You think you paid Georgie Cole $1.7 million for that property?
In the end, I paid more than that. You pay taxes and everything else. Yes, I paid 1.150 plus 495,000. What is that? Add it up, and then put the 1% transfer tax. Put all that shit on there. Sorry.
And the 400, what was it, 495?
495 was a separate.
You bought a
parcel.
piece of eased property. You bought a piece of property that can't be built on, that some of the people in this audience
Live in that neighborhood.
consider their open space from their development.
I never wanted that to be anything other than open space. I had to buy that to buy the 45.8 acres. It was a part of the agreement. Nobody listens down here. Nobody talks. Nobody says, Sean, what's up? Let's sit down. Let's talk about this.
Well, we sat down with you
Keep
and talked
smiling.
about it,
Keep
and all the
smiling.
taxpayers in this room paid for discussions here with our council
Appraisals.
and your council,
Appraisals.
and you agreed on the price per acre to preserve the 45.8 acres in those discussions that we're all of us here are paying for. And then he goes and writes the easements and the agreement of sale for that, and you send an email that says, my friends are telling me that's a bad deal. I shouldn't take the deal. Why
What's the
didn't you
deal?
say that
What's the
before
deal?
we
Say
paid the
deal.
council?
Don't just talk in platitudes. Don't talk in platitudes.
No, I'm not
Tell
talking
me the
platitudes. I've got an email from you that says that. I mean, we spent taxpayer money to get our legal counsel to do what you agreed upon verbally,
More than
like
once.
every other parcel I've preserved in this township. Because we don't spend the money on that unless we have an agreement.
I wanted to preserve the property.
No,
You sent me 5-acre building envelope of building an additional lot.
and you didn't want to do it.
I accepted that,
No, you
but I
didn't.
wanted
Okay, that's,
a
No.
larger.
that's enough.
You did not.
Hindsight.
You did not.
Well, the emails say it all.
Yeah, I know, I've got them.
Yeah.
And texts and everything else.
Okay, well, your lawyer can call Craig's lawyer, but that's not the way we remember it.
All right. I just want to set the record straight. That property was listed for $2,675,000.
Okay. And the 10 million, it was gonna be $10 million for the house on it.
That was a separate listing.
Okay.
And if you read the listing that I sent to Paul, did it say 30 acres?
I'll have to look at
Did I
that.
highlight 30 acres and send that to you?
I didn't see that listing.
The
The
one-
listing
the
we
one-
ordered
okay.
the appraisal on is
Yeah.
1.275, 48.8 acres. 45.8.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Street, we looked it up and
Right.
looked up and it was the $2 million price for that and then 10 million with the house. We looked
Yeah.
through everything, so like, where are they gonna build it?
Okay.
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 Yep.
That's what it initially was.
You can do your smoke and mirrors
Sean,
all
did
you
you wanna
want.
add
I'm
anything?
out of it.
I don't know what's going on, but he lives down the road. And the reason I was able to speak to Rich and complain about the road is when he put that up for sale, he's 100% right. Okay, I don't know what your listing you're talking. He had it on there for 2675, okay? And if you want, some rich guy who's gonna come from Manhattan, want to put up, as you refer to as a McMansion, he had some builder who was gonna put up this big glass fancy house. I came, because I have a son who's coming back from Florida, and I'm a neighbor, and I went in and I spoke to Richard. He gave me all this double talk with this, with that, blah, 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 he couldn't say much about it. But he did have that property listed, and supposedly it was for sale, and somebody bought it, okay? And then the sign came off, it was sold or pending, whatever, and then it came off. But it's there, and it could be pulled up somewhere.
Okay.
He had that listed for that price.
It was Rich Zavetta, and then when Rich saw that the property, part of the property was preserved, he
Right,
backed
the
out of it.
14 acres, that's
He
why I
backed
said,
out of it.
what's going on with the 14 acres?
He thought that he was being
But if it
misled.
wasn't put in preservation, which supposedly he was supposed to do, and I don't know him personally, if it was gonna be put in preservation,
Was based on
the-
1.2.
the biggest project that they could put up was, I think, 6 houses. These 6 houses probably would have been $3 to $5 to $6, $7 million houses, like they're building these monsters on Stover's Mill Road. Now, what this young lady says is 100% right, because you know something? We all live in a beautiful area, and I'm also a former New Yorker, and I escaped. First to Newtown, then to here. But, you know what? If they put up 5 or 6, $7 million houses on
That's-
6-acre lots, would you people be upset?
Yeah, but that's not,
Okay, but
that's not
what I'm
what
trying to
he-
say is, I don't know what goes on in this town, but you know what this gentleman
That's
said
not
about
what he
that
was-
corner property, when it was for sale, with the 16 acres that you said something about? And I spoke to my broker about subdivision, if he bought that house, we did something else. And he advised me, and you all know him, he's been a broker in this area for 40 years, and he said to me, Buckingham, are you crazy? So, you know what's something about this, this is a great place to live, because you guys are tough, tougher than any other part of Bucks County. But now, I don't know what went on with you, between you and McCardle and Cole, I mean, this is the good old boys club, because these families been here forever, I'm a newcomer. But I ask a lot of questions and I do my homework. So, I don't know what went on between you and him and this and that, but, again, if you told everybody here that we're gonna have 5 or 6 big houses, okay? Not everything is a McMahon.
yeah, but he couldn't put that many
I
on.
know you're trying to control this place, but by doing this and putting this up with the spray fields, I don't think you're making people happier. Okay, so I don't know what the behind the scenes are, I'm not a lawyer, thank God. Okay, because this is what causes a lot of issues, but I spoke to Richie twice, and I brought in the air, because he had 2 different listings. And it's in black and white, I'm sure it could be pulled up, but that's what the property was listed for. And as far as Zavetta goes, yes, Zavetta wants big property, so he put up, he won't touch anything less than $5-10 million. So whatever happened between you guys and McCardle and Zavetta, whatever it is, we're never gonna know. But, where I live, maybe it won't be affected by these spray fields, but
Yeah, you
this
will.
lady, these people over here, those couple of houses that are in that little chunk that's the face of that, they should hire lawyers and demand that you buy those properties from them. Because that's serious stuff.
And at
That's
the
serious
value
stuff.
that they're worth now, before you put the spray fields in.
There's already spray fields there.
Guarantee our
There's
wells
not
for the next
right next
50
to
years.
us and not around us. We moved here to
Okay.
Buckingham because it's beautiful and we love the area and.
And-
Correct,
And
it's
we're-
because of years
And we're
of
trying
what
to
we've
keep
been
it
doing.
beautiful.
That's right, we all love it. That's the reason why it's like this is because residents and the government, and the staff, that's what I mean by the government, the staff. That's why we love it. And so someone's always gonna be upset about everything, but you have to look at the good of the community and the best way possible, the neighbors too, I get it. John's a lifelong resident, he grew up here.
And Maggie's responsible for probably preserving over half of the 6,000 acres that we have in Buckingham.
We came here
Farm.
tonight in good
Look
faith.
after you buy poison in here. That's what they're good for.
5805 Mechanicsville Road, right across the street from the spray fields, proposed spray fields. We came here in good faith to talk to you about our concerns with the hope that you would work with us. And what we have gotten is platitudes and pushback
and implications and things that are saying things like we've misrepresented the facts. I'd like to know what facts you think we misrepresented, for one. I was accused of that. And I would also like to know, going forward, is there any possibility that you would work with your constituents, who are voters, in creating this development plan so that you're not upsetting all of these community members?
Yes, Dana just said that she's going to have the adjacent property owner involved in.
One adjacent
No,
property.
owners.
Owners
who are
What about the
adjacent property.
Soulberry
I mean,
folks that are across the street in the
It gets,
Soulberry?
yeah, it gets designed by the professionals, that's who designed it.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, we would like to also have professionals representing our needs and work together.
Okay.
We
We can
want
talk about
power
that.
with and not power over.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, Maggie.
Yeah, I think Mike's gonna tie this up.
Okay,
Okay, Mike,
Mike, finish it up for us.
I mean,
Okay. Man in the gray suit. Gray, I'm sorry, shirt.
That's all right. Andrew Yaros, 3155 Antler Drive in Hunter's Run. We're not directly across the street, but I do have concerns. I don't know the logistics of how these are built. You gave us a lot of information tonight. I've seen the one on 413, I've seen the one off of, was it Cold Spring Creamery Farm Road, before 413 on the left. My concern is when they are spraying is the mist that comes off of us. I know the winds that come across from
It's really strong,
Maximux
that's why we
to
have
cross.
to.
You know what? It's, I know your farm and I know, has it been preserved? I know they're trying to preserve it. So I really appreciate your input, but let's let this guy speak. Sorry. Sorry to call you Guy. And you never got your turn, the lady in the white.
So my concern is the airborne particles when they are actually doing spraying. Because we've got a lot of open area, this is open area, and coming across, the winds right now in our area are predominantly from, I would say, Maximux through across Mechanicsville and into Hunter's Run. If that's west, from the west, I'm not sure.
Yes.
But anyway, the other question I had is, where is all this wastewater coming from? We're all well owners and septic systems and
It's the.
Your Cold Spring neighbors.
Cold Spring,
Well,
so like 50
yeah.
And also
And your
Stony
neighbors.
Mead.
Stony Mead.
And the
and-
people that live on, across the
Yeah,
street.
across
need to hook
Stony
up
Mead,
because all the
right behind
septic
you guys.
systems are bad. All the
And,
people
and
that
a
live on
couple
Indian
people
Spring
in
because
Indian
their septic
Spring
systems are bad.
and
Mostly your neighbors.
most,
Okay.
yeah,
that's fine.
yeah,
That's
your
my question.
neighbors.
So, yeah, you know the neighborhood, it's, what's the name of, Stony Mead Street back there?
Wellsford.
Yeah, Stony,
Bitter-
the
Yeah.
whole Stony Mead
Bittersweet.
neighborhood, which is
Okay.
off of Indian Spring.
Okay.
And Indian Spring neighbors and
And we'll
there's.
get
Some Indian
bittersweet.
Spring,
beyond that.
bittersweet.
Bittersweet,
That-
yeah.
Those are the closest to
So
you.
my question, my second question to that point is that I've heard that this spray field is to help alleviate the stress on the other spray fields.
So we can farm the other spray fields more.
It's for better management of all
Okay.
the spray fields.
Like, you've got to turn them off, so you've got somewhere else to turn it on to get rid of the water, I understand that. Is hay the only thing that you can farm on these fields?
No. Corn, sunflowers, I mean, there's a number of things.
Soybeans.
You test the soil to see what the soil needs, and then you put a crop on there that's either add stuff to the soil, take stuff away from the soil.
Okay.
I mean, if you
So
go
the
down.
ones I've seen have been predominantly or nothing but hay.
Yeah,
I've seen
but
them.
there's corn down behind Nunsuch,
Okay.
cattle corn, not people corn.
And what's this property going to look like once this is developed? Is it just gonna be a hayfield?
It'll look like the property next to the district court, across
It'll look
from,
a lot like
across
that.
from Cold Spring Creamery Road.
Without the lagoon.
No,
Yeah,
across from
without.
elementary.
I mean, Cold Spring Creamery Elementary.
Yeah, Cold Springs Elementary. That's what it looks like.
Except there will be a large lagoon.
Yeah, no lagoon.
Yeah.
No lagoon.
And just out of,
It would
I
just be
don't
the
know,
fields.
again, I don't know how they're built, but how many nozzles per square feet do they cover?
Normally, what we try to do is have a 40-foot radius for a nozzle itself.
So there's a nozzle every 80 feet?
About 80 feet, yeah.
And how high are they?
3'6".
And my last question goes back to the spray and mist. Is there a way to regulate that nozzle so it's more of like a moderate rain or heavier rain than it is a mist for when it is windy?
When it's windy, if it's over 25 miles an hour wind, our spray field's shut down. We can't spray when there's high winds there.
Well, what about a moderate wind? I mean, if it's a misting spray, we're gonna get it. And the last question I have is, the water that you've been talking about is highly treated and so forth and so on. I'm sure it's not bacteria free, so if this mist is coming across and landing on plants and crops and.
It is bacteria free.
We disinfect all of our.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
We disinfect all of our wastewater.
Okay. That's all I
Chlorine
have.
levels are
Questions.
pretty high.
Thank you.
Chlorine levels that we
Thank
have.
you know what, hang on 1 second. This lady in the white, yeah.
I just have one question. Can they put up like a row of arborvitaes to kind of contain the spray mist?
Yeah, we can.
A buffer.
We can do buffering, yeah. And that was one thing we certainly wanted to talk to with the neighbors.
Give Mary Jane your name.
Oh, Karen Matija from 5901 so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, our pine tree.
Celeste Callahan, 33.
Hang on a
Someone's
second.
speaking.
Just respect our neighbors.
Celeste Callahan, 3384 Street Road.
Guys, please just respect your neighbors. Go ahead.
If your plan goes through as you plan it now, our home, which we've been there for 26 years, built in 1769, will be completely surrounded on 3 sides by a spray field. Please tell me who, when we're too old to live there, who is going to buy my house? Who's going to want to live in that particular location?
Are you the old farmhouse with the
Yeah,
apartments?
they're the out
With all the
parcel.
apartments in the barn?
No, I have no apartments.
There's another farmhouse?
There's
That's the house down the street.
Yeah, that's a different one down the street.
I'm
Now,
trying
that, yeah, no, it's the one that's right around.
So I put that question out to you. Obviously, we're concerned about the well water. We live with someone with compromised immune system. Why do I want to be surrounded by this? And where am I gonna go? You know, that I have to tell somebody who might even like my house to say, guess what? In 2 years, there's probably gonna be spray field around there. Yeah, I have to disclose it.
Okay.
Is there any compensation for dropped property values?
There hasn't been so far, because there hasn't been a need
No
for
drop.
that.
Would that be considered?
I don't think the
What-
township would be authorized.
No,
I don't
and
think
what we have found just being here, while a lot of our spray fields were developed and houses, many of the houses paid a premium lot to be next to the spray fields.
For the open space.
They were sold as premiums. They just were.
Yep.
You cannot believe me, but they,
Toll Brothers.
yeah, Toll Brothers,
Toll Brothers charged extra money.
charged
Move,
extra money to be next to it because it's a permanent open space
You can laugh, but it's
that
true.
will not be built upon.
Quiet, quiet.
I'm Barbara Frenchman, I live at 5447 Cartersville Road. I live 3 lots down from the one at Cold Spring Creamery across from the elementary. I smell nothing, and to be honest, when we were looking at real estate, we came from Upper Makefield on a sizable thing. We enjoy the fact that there was a nice open field on the corner that wasn't gonna be built in. I know the thing about having a $5 or $6 million house, but not everybody is involved with that. And I think you look at the other side and you say, oh wait, we're not gonna have one here, but it's okay to have it for everybody else in the community. So are you opening up the web to say we're not gonna have Springfield anywhere, and do that? And
And if that's bad, I mean, this is kind of a Pandora's box, and I would just like everyone to look at it from a community standpoint.
Hey, let
wait.
everybody get a chance to speak.
And it's not fair for them
Respect
to
her,
attack
please.
their neighbor.
I cannot hear this woman and I don't know her and I wanna hear her. Yeah, you know what? Come up to the microphone.
No,
Yeah,
I mean, if you wanna keep.
What?
It's
It's a
fine.
shame that people disrespect
Just
each other.
wait, don't talk till you get there.
You chose me. I did, but you can't. We did not.
This is not a conversation between you two guys, you can take it out to the
Public
parking lot, go
Go
ahead.
ahead. Ma'am,
And Barbara.
ma'am, Barbara, it's your public comment. It's your
Yeah,
public
in
comment.
the microphone.
I just wish everyone would kind of look at it, take a step back. I know it's right, some of you guys, it's in your area, you're not used to it, but look at the ones that have existed. And kind of the people who are already there, who have this, you're not really, well, I don't want to say you're not, because I get your point, but you're kind of devaluing everybody else in your community who is living with these. And you start talking about global warming and all that kind of stuff with the heavier rains. There's scientific reasons why you have to handle the water that we already have. So you kind of want your cake and eat it too. You want to live here and have the open space and have it beautiful, but you're also part of a community. So I just wish everyone would consider the big picture for who lives here and put a spray field rather than some other houses or whatever it's going to be. Excuse me?
You want, okay, that's fine, you want a house.
Yeah, I mean, there are other perspectives, and I wish you guys would consider the people who already live by spray fields and talk to them of what they do. Your choice.
Barbara, go ahead.
Please be nice to your neighbor.
Everybody,
I'm saying that no one can.
they want to be listened to, but they don't want to listen to someone
And
else.
so that's my point. I just wish
And
people
Barbara,
would-
it especially looks beautiful when they do sunflowers.
Yes.
It's beautiful.
And
People
if we
stop
have-
all the time and take
If we
pictures.
have this big of a concern, why is it right across the street from a school and no one's complained up until this point? Until it starts affecting some people's property values or where they're gonna live.
Yeah, but it hasn't.
It hasn't.
That's my point. It has not.
Hasn't.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you,
we
Barbara.
have to start our meeting, but Mike, step up. Now, Mike ran for supervisor last election cycle, and he actually used the spray fields for his house wastewater. Hearthstone, that's spray
Yeah,
fields.
where do you think you
Yeah.
With it, I'm just
No,
saying that
no.
we've been doing things a certain
Come on.
way for years.
Finish.
Try
Go
to
ahead.
do it a better way that can
Mike.
meet everyone's concerns.
It was installed in the 80s, but the technology continuously
I'm
changed.
talking about like drip irrigation or other alternatives that can achieve the same.
Yeah, and you said it, and
Yeah,
we
we said
said it's some,
And
I saw them shake their
we
heads
can do
and
it
say
in the woods.
something.
Yeah,
and
we
you
can
said
do it in
it.
the woods.
So,
In the woods,
the next
Gary.
person speaking,
In the woods. we
okay?
can use it.
All right, shh.
Okay.
Go ahead,
Okay,
Mike.
Mike.
Because Mike, we got to start the meeting.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah.
Mike Bateman, Tall Oak Court. I'd like to address a form email that was sent out earlier today by our township manager, Dana Cosa. Over the last several days, Dana has received dozens of emails from concerned residents asking to please find an alternative venue due to the large expected crowd at the planning commission meeting next week, where the warehouse is expected to be on the agenda. Dana ultimately denied the request for the following reasons. First, residents rely on the meeting being held at the township building. Well, if you've been to any of our planning commission meetings, there's usually only a handful of residents at these meetings, and special meetings require special treatment. So we're facing one of the most unpopular projects in the township in decades right now, and many people are concerned, and the township manager is actively trying to choose to keep them out. In addition,
No,
it's
but
clear-
Mike, it's not, the township manager comes to the board.
So the board didn't want the change of venue then, so
Yes,
this board
that's correct.
voted.
Yeah, we've had very controversial meetings here for,
21
foliage-
years.
Yeah,
More
foliage
than
mulching,
that.
foliage mulching operation. Their industrial operation down there, when the airport expansion, was
My
coming through.
first public meeting.
Yeah, when the airport expansion was coming through, probably 20 years ago, that was really
Okay, so this
important.
board is not interested in letting people into this building. There's
No, we are, but we're not gonna change the meeting to CB East or Buckingham Elementary and have people show up here and not know that it's changed.
John, there's 4 people that show up to these meetings normally, and I think it's probably pretty obvious that our group can really control as to the messaging.
You can bring as many people as you want from out of Buckingham, and I'm sure you're gonna fill up this room.
It's gonna be more than fill up the room. People are
Okay.
bringing camping chairs
Okay,
because they
that's
don't know
good.
where to sit.
That's good. They can
Right?
do
There's
that.
gonna be people at this door. There are people in the hallway.
Good.
But Mike, the warehouse has a lot of, there's a lot of Plumstead residents that come.
Yeah.
And really, this venue, just like Plumstead is for their residents, is for our residents. Anybody can talk to us outside of that. That's why, I mean, we had a discussion about neighbor to neighbor being able to talk to each other than any other public position. Which, and if you know us, you know any of my neighbors can always talk to me, like Mr. McCardle did. And so, when you have a lot of people from other townships coming in, it's not fair to our residents. That's, just to your point,
Anyway.
Well,
Guys,
the
continue.
point
So
is,
this
and there were
project-
empty seats, everybody needs to sit with even people
Maggie,
they
you
don't
weren't
know,
at the
and they'll be
meeting. I don't
full.
know if you watched
You
the
know
live
what,
stream.
we're not changing the venue,
Yeah, we watched
Okay.
the live stream. There was empty.
So
okay? Dana got like,
Yeah.
what, 25 emails? And you responded to each person?
you didn't respond to mine,
Personally?
but that's okay.
Well, not.
Because you had already stopped me when I was leaving work the other day, and we talked, and I gave you all the reasons. That's why I didn't email
So
you.
you also stated the township meeting room had open seats. It did not.
I-
We know exactly what this room can accommodate because we've had standing room only crowds in here twice in the past 2 months. So we know exactly what this room can accommodate and what it can. And then you also stated that residents don't want to use tax dollars to change the venue. So that's fine, we'll pay for it. So send us the bill. Buckingham, East, Holcomb, we've raised community money from all over the place. If you don't want Plumstead residents here, that's fine. They'll show up somewhere else. Send us the bill and we'll take care of it, if that's the issue.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Okay, anyone
Anybody
else?
else
Now we can
before
start.
we're going back to our meeting agenda?
Okay.
Are you all staying?
What's the matter,
Quietly?
man?
Is he okay? He's holding his chest.
Who?
Right next to
Yeah, he's fine. You okay, Paul?
I just have a little pain, I'm okay.
Okay. Thank you.
You know what, I'm gonna get some water. We're gonna take a 5-minute break.
All right, while you clear, we're gonna take a 5-minute break.
Sorry, I don't think he's feeling
I don't think he is.
Right.
We're gonna, do some, I'm gonna get the,
Craig,
I'm gonna go get the.
I think our first zoning case on this coming Monday will involve that Devonshire,
Those folks that,
yeah, the,
Terry and I have been through this
yeah,
before.
have you, the Devonshire 2 overlay district, is that based on what happened tonight? You want to talk to Terry?
Terry and I have actually done this dance before, but yeah, I'll talk to him and remind him that there's, it's a plan issue.
Based on, the
We had the
lady
same
who
thing
came.
out of Buckingham Springs, and we had the same thing elsewhere. Yeah, I mean, it's a
Yeah,
plan
because I
issue.
think it's our first case, and I find it the other 3 are quite you know, I understand them. The first one, I was just like flummoxed. So, yeah.
All right, I'll give Terry a call. Yeah, it's always interesting.
So I was like, someone's going with them, right? Not as you, not TV. Just nice seeing you, I'm sorry.
So it's 17 feet. You got to see it.
Their first thing is. So we can open the
They really can't. No, we're fine. Thank you.
And the song does that, then it's some other set. They didn't raise the law. And we just started raising the rates.
I was laughing.
And that's what I would like to do. Larry Kepler, who came back, he was the head of the agriculture.
I think that was part of the problem I'm so sorry. So obviously,
We're gonna finish the.
Is he okay?
Yeah. The problem with Paul is he had open heart surgery.
Right.
So I think he just has some kind of indigestion.
Oh,
So, okay, we're gonna wrap up the meeting.
yes, okay.
Sure you don't want to keep up, keep it open a little bit more?
Oh, I'm the vice chair, I'm calling this meeting to order.
Okay.
We are back in session. See what happens when you're the vice chair? Let's find out where we are.
So Mag, we went through all the announcements.
Yeah, the announcements are done.
Number 3.
Okay.
Want me to do it?
Numbers, board's announcements, we have none, I think we've announced.
We announced everything.
Yeah. Okay, number 3.
I move that we consider.
I
Oh,
move.
you got it. Okay, you got it. Go ahead. You got it.
I move that we approve payment number 10 to GS Developers for work completed on the water company generator upgrades, contract BT 2201, in the amount of $22,700. I'm gonna do B with it, too. And approve with payment number 15 to GS Developers for work completed on the Cold Spring wastewater system upgrades in the amount of $15,000. We need a second. Electrical contract. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number C, I move that we approve the payroll for March 20, dated March 28th, 2024, and April 11th, 2024, and the bill list for the meeting of April 24th, 2024.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Number 4, I move that we approve the draft supervisor minutes of the March 27th work session and the March 27th regular business meeting.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Number 5, I move that we accept for inclusion in the township records various departmental and advisory body minutes. The Environmental Advisory Committee, January 17th, 2024, and February 21st, 2024, and the Building and Zoning Monthly Stats, March 2024, sorry.
Second.
Questions, comments? My comment is, all this stuff is on the website. All in favor?
Aye.
Number 6, I move that we approve resolution. I move that we approve resolution 2623, appointing the chief of police.
Second.
Awesome.
And so we hired Dave Scarrato from, he's presently in Upper Moreland.
Lower
Lower Moreland, police chief in Lower Moreland. We went through an exhaustive search, narrowed it down to about 5 people, and he was one of the guys that seemed to have the most experience. He's also he trained other police chiefs through the Bucks County Training Center, and is just really into a lot of training.
Yeah. Yep.
David Scarrato, and he will be sworn in at the May 15th board meeting, which is the next board meeting.
Yeah.
So
He is currently, his manager is not in Lower Moreland? Upper Moreland.
Lower
Moreland.
He it took some time off, so he's acting as the manager and
well,
police
not,
chief.
not the, no, he's not doing that too.
Well, he
Well, he could,
but
but
he-
he's
no,
not.
but he-
But but they
he-
asked him to stay longer.
Yeah.
That's why our timing is a little off.
And
But
then-
we wanted to make sure we.
And then he has a graduation he
that.
has to attend in Texas, so he'll be coming in May.
Yep.
Yeah,
So-
and I'll just add that our first hit was 10 people that came in and interviewed. And Dave was he was the last person that came in and interviewed. And we were all, whoa, this guy has got it going on. He would be fantastic in Buckingham. And then the company that we had hired to organize the search brought in 5 candidates, Dave being one of them. And it was just, we had good candidates, those 5 candidates, all with different strength. But Dave really, he blew me away. I just think he's going to be wonderful here. So,
Yeah, he's good. The guys are gonna like him.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Can I ask a question on that? Sorry. Is there any, the acting chief, is he planning to stay and go back to his old position, or is that position?
No, we don't have an acting chief.
Our lieutenant is filling in as our acting chief. He does have plans to retire in 2.5
Yeah.
2.5. He's on drop.
He's in the drop program, so he's has his retirement scheduled, so he will be in the lieutenant's position and help our new police chief get started.
Great, so that won't be a vacancy.
No.
No.
He's fine going back down. Cool, that's all. Thank you.
Did
Well, he's
you ever,
not going
Chris,
back
did you ever?
down. He's
No, he's not. He's not. He's really. He's acting.
he's the lieutenant.
He's not. He's not. It doesn't say he's acting. He's still a lieutenant. He's just the highest ranking person we have. Did you ever deal with Scarrato
I did,
while you were a Ben Salem
Yes.
detective?
yes.
As for training or?
For training, and we worked with them a few times.
Okay.
Nothing but good things to say.
Yeah. I mean, he's close, which would be great because he's got younger kids. But he was also looking. Lower Marion wanted him, which is a really big department. I think he's just trying to slow down a little bit for his last 10 years. So.
I just wanted to come here.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I know. Well,
Okay.
and he lives in
He lives
Warminster,
in Warminster.
Warrington,
Lower
so
than Lower Marion.
it's not like he's,
Lower Marion's.
you know.
No, I'm saying, I moved here from there, so it's
Oh, you
definitely nicer here than.
So that's so exciting. Yeah.
Okay.
And after all this, it makes me smile.
We got that.
Okay, number 7, manager's items. I'm gonna go through these, Dana?
Yes, that'd be
Okay.
great.
I move that we approve the request submitted by Andrea Farino on behalf of Abby's Bakery TNT Scholarship Fund to waive the $100 park usage fee set by Resolution 2618 for use of George M. Bush Park for a Play for Abby volleyball tournament to be held on May 18th, 2024.
Second.
Questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And the next one, I move that we approve the request submitted by C Cloud, C-I-E? Stroud, on behalf of the Anchor House Foundation to waive the $100 park usage fee set by resolution also 2618 for the use of Hansel Park for a Ride for Runaways to be held on July 20th, 24.
Second.
Questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I move that we award the 2024 road improvement project bid to James D. Morrissey, Inc. of Philadelphia in the amount of $707,161.90.
Second.
Questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
The next is really an announcement. The Board of Supervisors, this meeting, will have a regular business meeting on May 15th, Wednesday, May 15th, at 7:30 p.m., which will include this official swearing-in ceremony for the new chief of police. And that will be our main meeting. And that's the end of the agenda, I think.
It should be early.
Yeah.
May 15th.
Yes, and we'll be canceling May 22nd.
Second.
22nd.
22nd.
7,
22nd.
15 plus 7.
Okay, so I move we close this meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. I texted Ms. Lynch